Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Parallel world, Earth. The fluorescent light in the duty room flickered twice and then went out. Zhao Linyu lifted his head from the table, his neck cracking with a sound. He wiped his face, his hands were covered in sweat. Something's not right. It's too quiet. At this time of day, the cell block would normally be incredibly noisy, with female prisoners yelling and the washrooms filled with the sound of running water. But now, there's not a sound at all. Zhao Linyu stood up, walked to the window, and looked outside. Then he froze. People were running on the playground. They were running very fast. There were figures chasing behind them. The one in the lead fell down and was quickly swallowed up by the crowd. The screams could be heard even through the glass. Zhao Linyu took a step back, his back hitting the table. He took a deep breath and forced himself to look at it one more time. The playground was in complete chaos. Figures were everywhere, their movements stiff and contorted, as they lunged and bit at something within the crowd. Zhao Lin stared at the mess for 2 seconds before looking away. He glanced down at his police uniform and then touched the stun gun at his waist. Hold. He turned to press the intercom on the wall, but there was no response. He took out his phone, but there was no signal. He opened the door to the duty room and walked out. The corridor was empty, with only the emergency lights on the ceiling flashing. Zhao Linyu walked to the end of the corridor and peered through the window towards the prison cell area. The iron gate to the cell block was crooked, the lock had been smashed, and there were bloody handprints on the door frame. People were shouting, crying, and smashing things in the hallway. He was about to turn back when he suddenly remembered something. Every evening after dinner, all prisoners in the women's prison must hand over their used uniforms to the laundry room and collect their clothes for the next day. This is to prevent anyone from smuggling contraband into their cells. During the handover, there is a 10-minute period during which everyone stands barefoot in the corridor, waiting for their number to be called. Today happens to be that time. Zhao Linyu's mind went blank for a moment. He looked out the window again and finally realized what the scattered prison uniforms meant. They were exchanging clothes when the virus broke out. The playground was teeming with people. Some were running, some were falling, some were pouncing. They were everywhere, densely packed. In the distance, at the base of the wall, someone was trying to climb over it, but was electrocuted by the electric fence above and fell, crashing into the crowd below. Zhao Linyu closed the window and walked back. He sat back down in the duty room, staring blankly out the window. He was 23 years old and had just graduated from police academy and been assigned to this women's prison a year ago. Just then, a sound suddenly rang in my mind. Bite. Host detected in extreme environment. Doomsday prison system activated. Zhao Linyu was stunned for a moment, then cursed. What the hell? Activation complete. Welcome to the Doomsday prison system. Host, Zhao Linyu, female prison guard on duty, employee ID, 0247. Current environment scan in progress. Scan complete. Total prison population, 6,127, including 12 prison guards, 8 medical staff, 5 administrative staff, and 6,102 inmates. Current surviving population, 2,893, including 1 prison guard and 2,892 inmates. Zhao Linyu was stunned for a moment. Of the more than 6,000 people, less than 3,000 remain. He swallowed hard and asked, "Are you the system?" "Yes, host." The Doomsday prison system is designed to help hosts establish order, manage prisoners, and maintain prison operations in extreme environments. New player gift pack has been sent. Please check. A semi-transparent screen appeared out of thin air before him, with a gift box icon flashing on it. Zhao Linyu reached out and tapped it. Obtained, 100 multifunctional police robots. Model, cleaner. Equipped with high-pressure water cannon, tear gas launcher, electric stun gun, basic combat module. Completely obeys the host's commands and can issue direct instructions through the system. Granted, basic monitoring privileges. You can view real-time surveillance footage from any corner of the prison. Zhao Linyu stared at the words on the screen for a long time without saying a word. Then he asked, "You just said you'd obey me completely." "Yes, host." "They'll do whatever I tell them to do." "Yes, host." Zhao Linyu leaned back, and the chair creaked. He stared at the ceiling, silent for a few seconds. Then, shouts came from outside the window again, this time very close, as if they were right downstairs. Zhao Linyu sat up straight and tapped a few times on the screen. The surveillance footage popped up. The lobby on the first floor is the most crowded. A woman stood on a table. She was young, with long, flowing hair, and her face was stained with blood of unknown origin. She held an iron pipe, seemingly salvaged from somewhere, and pointed it at the crowd, shouting. She shouted loudly, and the crowd fell silent, craning their necks to listen to her. Zhao Linyu squinted and zoomed in on the image. That face was beautiful, even the blood couldn't hide its sharp, striking beauty. There was an innate sense of menace in its features, making it clear at a glance that this was not someone to be trifled with. She slammed the iron pipe down, smashing a chair next to her, and the crowd took a step back. Zhao Linyu retrieved her file. Shen Lingshuang, 28 years old, was sentenced to 15 years in prison for intentional injury. Her former profession was a free-fighting coach. Her file states that she has a strong personality, leadership skills, and organized numerous prisoner protests after her imprisonment, making her a key person under surveillance. Zhao Linyu stared at the screen for a few seconds, memorizing the face. Zhao Linyu minimized the surveillance footage and turned on the camera in the supplies warehouse. Thankfully, the door was still closed. He then opened the system's built-in warehouse list and glanced at it. Rice, 3.2 tons. Flour, 1.8 tons. Cooking oil, 600 liters. Canned goods, 2,000 boxes. Bottled water, 500 cases. Medicines, several. Clothing, several. Zhao Linyu calculated that with over 2,800 people eating sparingly, they could last for several months. He closed the list, stood up, and walked to the window. The shouting from the cell block continued, sounding even more frantic than before. Zhao Linyu looked over there and suddenly smiled. More than 2,800 people, he muttered to himself, are all running around barefoot now. Host, we recommend taking immediate action to establish order. What's the rush? Let them make a scene first, it'll be easier to manage them once they're tired of it. But the riots could lead to more casualties. More than 3,000 have already died, a few more hours won't make a difference. I'm asking you, system, how combat ready are these robots? A single scavenger robot can handle an attack from 10 to 15 average adult women in hand-to-hand combat. Its suppressive power is further enhanced when equipped with gear. It is recommended to use high-pressure water cannons for crowd control, electric forks for individual subjugation, and tear gas for area containment. Can you kill someone? Host, the scavenger robot was designed for suppression, not execution. Its electric fork can cause cardiac arrest at its maximum output power, but it is not usually used intentionally. In other words, they can kill, but they generally don't. This can be understood as follows. Zhao Linyu nodded. That's fine. He stood up, walked to the door, and glanced back at the surveillance footage. On screen, the woman had already gotten off the table. She was leading a group of people rushing in one direction. That direction was the supplies depot. Zhao Linyu narrowed his eyes. They have a good eye for choosing locations. He walked out of the duty room and headed towards the stairwell. Host, where do you want to go? Go to the monitoring center, Zhao Linyu said as he walked. Prepare some gifts for them. Do we need to deploy robots in advance? Need not. Zhao Linyu walked to the control panel and sat down. He stared at one of the screens for a few seconds. On the screen, the woman was leading a group of people running towards the storage depot, followed by a huge crowd of at least 200 or 300. They ran through corridors and upstairs, and the sound of their footsteps conveyed a sense of madness even through the screen. Zhao Linyu reached out and pressed the switch on the broadcast system. He cleared his throat and said something into the microphone. What's all the noise about? The sound echoed simultaneously in every corner of the prison. The woman in the picture paused for a moment, then looked up at the ceiling. Zhao Linyu smiled. Then he pressed play. The next second, deafening music burst forth from every loudspeaker. Today is a good day, may all your wishes come true. The woman was stunned. The hundreds of people behind her were stunned. The entire prison was stunned. Amidst cheerful singing, the doors of the storage facility slowly opened. It wasn't filled with mountains of food. Instead, they were rows of cold, silver-gray robots. 100 street cleaners stood in neat rows, their red scanning lights flashing simultaneously, all aimed at the crowd outside the door. The singing continued. Today is a good day, let's open the door and welcome the spring breeze. The woman took a step back. The high-pressure water guns are turned on simultaneously. A jet of icy water shot out like a giant dragon, instantly sending the first row of people flying backward like bowling pins. Screams, cries, and curses mingled together, completely drowned out by the singing. Zhao Linyu leaned back in his chair, watching the surveillance footage, a slight smile playing on his lips. He reached up and touched his chin, then whispered a sentence into the microphone. The singing stopped. The entire prison fell silent, save for the sound of water jets and the occasional groan. Those who had been knocked to the ground lay motionless. The woman was also lying there, soaking wet, her long hair scattered all over the ground. Her initial sharp demeanor was now replaced by a state of disarray. Instinctively, she tried to cover herself, gripping the iron pipe tightly with one hand until her knuckles turned white, while her other hand was forced to rise, frantically covering her exposed chest. Water droplets slid down her taut skin. The shame of being naked and exposed to everyone's gaze was more piercing than the cold water. She looked up, staring at the ceiling. In addition to resentment and anger, her eyes now held a hint of humiliation and panic. As Zhao Linyu watched this scene on the surveillance footage, his smile deepened. I now announce. Here. I'm in charge. He put down the microphone and looked at the figures on the monitor, soaking wet and shivering on the ground. They no longer cared about fighting for space. Instinctively, they curled up, trying to cover their private parts with their arms. Under the cold, wet ground and the robot's icy red light, shame and fear intertwined, making them too afraid to even look up. Zhao Linyu smiled. The chaos on the playground continued. The figures were still running, still pouncing, still falling. But Zhao Linyu knew that, at least at the supply depot, it was safe for the time being. Zhao Linyu put down the microphone, leaned back in his chair, and let out a long sigh. The 100 robots at the entrance of the storage facility remained in formation, their red scanning lights flashing rhythmically. The people lying on the ground dared not move, soaked to the bone, shivering in the cold wind. Xiaoqi, Zhao Linyu called out to the air. Host, I'm here. Show me what's happening elsewhere. The surveillance footage switched rapidly. Every corner of the prison area, including buildings A, B, and C, the canteen, the infirmary, and the laundry room, was brought up. Zhao Linyu glanced at it a few times and frowned. It's complete chaos. It is recommended to consolidate the forces, otherwise, casualties will continue to rise. Zhao Linyu was silent for a few seconds, then asked, is the playground big enough? The playground covers an area of approximately 3,000 square meters and can accommodate the current survivors. Then get them all to the playground. He made a few moves on the console and brought up the prison's public address system. General notice. The sound echoed in every corner. I am Zhao Linyu, the prison guard on duty. You can see the situation outside. Anyone who wants to live, assemble on the exercise yard within 10 minutes. Hands behind your head, face the wall, and squat down. He paused. Those who don't come, or those who come and don't listen. The scene cuts to the 100 robots at the entrance of the storage warehouse. You've already seen these things. They obey me. In 10 minutes, I'll have them search the entire prison. If they find one, charge in. Broadcast interrupted. Zhao Linyu looked at the stunned people on the surveillance screen and smiled. Timer begins? Shen Lingshuang lay on the ground, soaked to the bone, her long hair plastered to her face. She gritted her teeth, staring intently at the silver-gray robots at the entrance of the storage warehouse. Sister Shuang. Someone whispered to her, what do we do? Shen Lingshuang didn't speak. She gripped the iron pipe tightly in her hand, her knuckles turning white. The voice from the radio was still echoing in my ears. It was the man's voice, young, calm, with an unsettling composure. She looked up and glanced at the robots. The red scanning light swept right over. Shen Lingshuang lowered her head. Walk. She pushed herself up, trying not to look at her naked body or think about the shame of being washed away by the jets of water. The people behind her gradually got up and followed her towards the playground. The situation on the playground was even more chaotic than Zhao Linyu had imagined. The survivors emerged in twos and threes from various corners, some supporting each other, others alone. Most of them were barefoot and naked, soaking wet or covered in dust, their eyes filled with fear and confusion. They walked to the edge of the playground, not knowing where to stand, and huddled together in a chaotic mess. Zhao Linyu frowned as he watched this scene on the surveillance camera. Xiaoqi, send 20 robots over to maintain order. Receive. On screen, 20 cleaning vehicles started up from the entrance of the storage depot and moved in 2 rows towards the playground. As they passed, the crowd automatically parted to make way for them. The robot began to move. The high-pressure water gun sprayed twice above the crowd, who screamed and shrank back. Hands behind your head. A synthesized voice came from the robot. Face the wall. Squat down. The crowd hurriedly followed suit. Some squatted down too quickly and fell, while others clutched their heads too tightly, causing them to cough violently. The scene was chaotic yet somewhat comical. Zhao Linyu watched for a while, then suddenly noticed that there were 2 people in the crowd who looked different. One of them squatted in the front row, her posture as perfect as a textbook example, hands behind her head, back straight, knees bent at a 90-degree angle, eyes looking straight at the wall in front of her. She remained squatting motionless, as if she were used to this posture. Another person crouched at the edge of the crowd, turning their head back and forth, looking around, showing no intention of cooperating. She had a very well-proportioned figure, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, and her crouching posture exuded a sense of explosive power, as if she could spring up at any moment. Zhao Linyu zoomed in on the image. First, look at the one with the standard movements. She had her head down, so her face wasn't clearly visible, but her profile was very soft. When she held her head in her hands, her fingers were long and clean, and her nails were neatly trimmed. She exuded a quietness that seemed out of place with her surroundings. The file was retrieved. Lin Ruoxiu, 24 years old, formerly a senior teller at a bank. Sentenced to 5 years for assisting in embezzlement, she has already served 1 year and 8 months. File notes, IQ test score 135, calm personality, skilled in observation and analysis. No disciplinary records since entering prison, and good relationship with her cellmates. Zhao Linyu raised an eyebrow. A bank teller with an IQ of 135 assisted in embezzling public funds. It seems she was the kind of person who was tricked by a man. Then look at that one who's looking around. The image zoomed in, revealing a delicate face. Her features were well defined, with large eyes that were now darting around, scrutinizing the surrounding robots. Her squatting posture appeared relaxed, but Zhao Linyu could tell that every muscle in her body was taut, ready to explode at any moment. File. Su Xiaotang, 22 years old, former national-level gymnast. Sentenced to 3 years for fraud, she has already served 9 months. File notes, excellent physical coordination, strong explosive power, stubborn personality, repeatedly participated in resistance activities against prison management after entering prison, and was listed as a key person of concern. Zhao Linyu stared blankly at the words national-level gymnast. Xiaoqi, host. This person, he pointed at Su Xiaotang, a fraudster. The records show that after retiring due to injury, she was deceived by her agent and embroiled in a financial dispute, ultimately being convicted of joint fraud. She appealed repeatedly, but the original verdict was upheld. Zhao Linyu said oh and didn't say anything more. The assembly on the playground continued. 10 minutes were almost up, and the crowd had mostly gathered. Some people had been driven there by the robots, soaking wet and looking disheveled. Others had been dragged out from corners, hiding in storage rooms, under beds, and in toilet stalls. The robots had found them all and escorted them to the playground. When the last group of people were brought over, Zhao Linyu glanced at the time. 9 minutes 47 seconds. Not bad, he muttered to himself, then pressed the broadcast button. Have they all arrived? No one dared to answer. Zhao Linyu didn't seem to care and continued. Let's begin the search. Anyone hiding something, hand it over. Those who don't. The scene cuts to the robot, and the electric fork flashes a blue light. A commotion broke out in the crowd. Start. 30 robots entered the crowd and began checking each person individually. Various detection devices extended from their arms, scanning each person. The examination lasted nearly 20 minutes. Zhao Linyu stood on the steps at the edge of the playground, looking down at the scene before him. Behind him were 2 backup robots, their red scanning lights flashing above his shoulders. The emergency lights on the playground cast a stark white glow on everything. 30 cleaning trucks lined up in 3 rows and began weaving through the crowd. Their movements were mechanical and precise, without any unnecessary reactions, just like an assembly line in a slaughterhouse. Attention everyone. Zhao Linyu picked up the megaphone. Security checks will begin now. Line up, one at a time. A commotion arose in the crowd, but no one dared to make a sound. The first robot stopped in front of a woman in her 20s. Safety check begins. Step 1, stand facing forward with arms outstretched. The woman was stunned and didn't react. The robot repeated, arms out to the sides. She frantically raised her arm, like a startled bird. The robot's probes extended, starting from her shoulders and slowly scanning downwards along both sides of her body. The woman trembled as the metal probes brushed against her skin, but dared not flinch. When the scan reached the waist, the probe arm paused, moved to the front, and lingered on the abdomen for 2 seconds. Then there's the chest. The woman closed her eyes, her face flushed red. The probe arm pressed against her without any emotion, examining every corner from top to bottom and left to right. Zhao Linyu stood on the steps, watching expressionlessly. Lin Ruoxiu, who was standing next to him, gently turned her face away. Su Xiaotang's eyes widened, and she muttered under her breath, this is FG, so humiliating. The probe arm continued downwards, sweeping across the hip bone, the inner thigh, and all the way down to the ankle. Step 1 complete. Step 2, turn around. The woman turned stiffly around, her back to the robot. The probe arm begins at the back of the neck and runs down the spine, along the shoulder blades, lower back, hips, and back of the thighs. The woman buried her face in her hands, her shoulders trembling violently. The third step is to place your hands behind your head and squat down. She slowly squatted down, clasping her hands behind her head. The probe swept from the top of her head to her lower back, and then back up again. Check complete. Passed. Next. The woman stood up, staggered away, ran to the edge of the crowd, squatted down, buried her head in her knees, and her shoulders shrugged. Zhao Linyu glanced at it, then looked away. The second, the third, the fourth. It moves forward like an assembly line. Some people started trembling during the frontal inspection, and cried as soon as the probe arm touched their chest. Some bit their lips so hard that they bled when they turned around. Some nearly fell while squatting down, only to be caught by the robot and bounced back as if electrocuted. Zhao Linyu remained standing on the steps, his face expressionless. Open your mouth. A young girl stood in front of the robot, her face filled with terror. Open your mouth. The robot repeated. She opened her mouth, and the light from the probe arm swept across every part of her under her tongue, on her palate, and her gums. That's fine. The girl closed her mouth with a sigh of relief, and tears streamed down her face. Several people in the queue next to me started to sob quietly. Shut up. Zhao Linyu's voice came from the loudspeaker. Next. The inspection continues. Some people tried to cover their private parts with their hands, but obediently put them down after being warned by the robot's electric fork. Some people kept shrinking back while being scanned, but were pushed back by the robot behind them. Some people kept their eyes closed the whole time, like walking corpses, letting themselves be manipulated. Shen Lingshuang stood in the middle of the line. She watched as people in front of her were checked one by one, her face growing paler and paler. She had thrown away the iron pipe before even arriving at the playground, so she had nothing on her now, but she was still so nervous that her palms were sweating. It was her turn. Safety check begins. Step 1, stand facing forward with arms outstretched. Shen Lingshuang raised her arm, her eyes fixed on the robot in front of her. Her own reflection, disheveled and wretched, was mirrored on its cold, metallic shell. The probe arm extends. Start from the shoulders, down, and down again. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth, staring at a point in the void, trying hard not to feel the metal probe sliding against her skin, waist, chest. She closed her eyes. The probe arm performed its job without any emotion. Step 1 complete. Step 2, turn around. Shen Lingshuang turned around, her back to the robot. She could feel the cold machine behind her scanning her, from the back of her neck to her waist, and from her waist to her legs. She clenched her fists, her nails digging into her flesh. The third step is to place your hands behind your head and squat down. Shen Lingshuang slowly squatted down. The probe swept from the top of the head to the ankles, and then from the ankles back to the top of the head. Check complete. Passed. Next. Shen Lingshuang stood up and walked away quickly. She didn't look back, didn't run, but simply walked to the edge of the crowd as fast as she could, then squatted down and buried her face in her arms. Her shoulders were shaking. Zhao Linyu shifted his gaze from her to the next person to be checked. She was a young girl, probably in her early 20s, thin and petite. She was trembling from the start of the examination. As soon as the probe touched her, she took a step back. No, don't touch me. The robot ignored her and continued scanning. When the scan reached her chest, the girl suddenly screamed and reached out to push the robot away. I told you not to touch me. Sizzle. The electric fork was pointed at her shoulder. The girl screamed and collapsed to the ground, her body convulsing. A gasp of surprise rippled through the crowd. Zhao Linyu frowned. Continue, he said. Two robots approached and helped the girl up from the ground, allowing her to continue the examination. The girl was limp and could barely stand. The robots supported her as she completed the remaining steps. Front. Back. Squat down. After it was over, two people in the crowd helped her away, and she squatted in a corner and kept crying. Zhao Linyu glanced at her, then looked away. Halfway through the examination, a woman was found to have a problem. The probe arm remained inside her mouth for an unusually long time. Spit it out. The woman kept her mouth tightly shut and shook her head desperately. Spit it out. The robot repeated, and the electric stun gun lit up with a blue light. The woman finally opened her mouth and pulled a small razor blade from under her tongue. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. The electric shock fork was activated. The woman screamed and fell to the ground, the blade falling to the floor and being crushed by the robot's foot. Continue, Zhao Linyu said. A little while later, the detection arm detected an anomaly when a woman squatted down. Take it out between your legs. The woman's face turned deathly pale, and she shook her head frantically. Between your legs, take it out. The robot repeated, pointing the electric fork at her. The woman reached out with trembling hands and took a small plastic bag from her body, which contained white powder. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The electric shock fork was activated. The woman screamed and fell to the ground. The plastic bag was taken away by the robot. The inspection lasted for nearly an hour. When the last group finished, the playground was filled with people squatting. Some were crying, some were trembling, and some were staring blankly at the ground, as if they had lost their souls. The search lasted nearly 20 minutes. The final count revealed 17 knives of various kinds, 43 homemade weapons, several packets of unidentified powder, and some other random items of unknown origin. Zhao Linyu stood on the steps, looking at the dense crowd in front of him. More than 2,800 people huddled together on the playground, under the stark white emergency lights. Some were crying, some were trembling, and some were staring blankly at the ground, as if they had lost their souls. The inspection is now complete. Those who were found are still lying on the ground convulsing. The after effects of the electric fork haven't worn off yet. Zhao Linyu glanced around and picked up the megaphone. Listen up, everyone. The crowd fell silent, and all eyes were on him. You've all seen what's happening outside. Zombies, a riot, and most of the people are dead. This prison is the only safe place now. The walls are high enough, the gates are thick enough, and there's a defense system. The zombies can't get in. He paused. But this place can't support more than 2,800 people. A commotion broke out in the crowd. Zhao Linyu ignored him and continued. Food is limited, space is limited. Those who stay here must have value. He pointed to the left side of the playground. Those over 35, stand over there. A flurry of panic erupted in the crowd, and some people began to move to the left. Those with serious illnesses, stand over there. Another group of people began to move. Those sentenced to less than 10 years, stand over there. More and more people moved around. The playground was in chaos. Some were crying, some were cursing, and some were standing still, not knowing where to go. Zhao Linyu waited a few minutes until the crowd had calmed down before continuing. The remaining candidates, under 35 years old, without serious illnesses, and with good looks, should stand in the middle. The crowd slowly parted. Finally, there were about 300 people standing in the middle. Zhao Linyu glanced at it and nodded. That's all. He walked down the steps, through the crowd, and stood before the 300+ people. They were all very young. The oldest looked to be in his early 30s, and the youngest looked to be under 20. Some had expressions of fear, some of confusion, some of wariness, and some of a complex, indescribable look. Zhao Linyu's gaze swept across the crowd. Shen Lingshuang stood in the front row, her whole body tense, staring at him. Lin Ruoxiu stood in the back row, her head slightly lowered, but her eyes were constantly observing. Su Xiaotang stood at the edge of the crowd, her face showing resentment, but she didn't dare to move. There were other people too. Some were truly outstanding in appearance, while others were just average. Tall or short, fat or thin, there were all kinds of people. Zhao Linyu withdrew his gaze, turned to the remaining people, and said, "There are over 2,500 of you. Go and collect your uniforms now. Each person will receive one set of prison clothes and one pair of shoes. After you've collected them, the gate will open, and you can leave." The crowd erupted in uproar. "Go out? There are zombies everywhere outside. You're sending us to our deaths. Why? Why should they be allowed to stay while we have to leave? Cries and curses mingled together as some people began to rush forward. Sizzle! The electric fork flashed blue, and the first row of people screamed and fell to the ground. The crowd took a step back. Zhao Linyu picked up the megaphone, his voice calm as if nothing had happened. Anyone else have any objections? No one dared to speak. If you have any objections, you can stay, like lying on the ground. He pointed to the robot next to him. No objections, go get your clothes now. After you get them, exit through the east gate. Don't run west, there are too many zombies there. There's a small town to the north, if you're lucky, you might survive for a few days. Some people in the crowd were crying, some were trembling, but no one dared to rush forward anymore. The robots began to move, escorting the first group of people towards the warehouse. Zhao Linyu stood there watching them leave, his face expressionless. Xiaoqi leaned closer and whispered, "You really want them to go out and die?" Zhao Linyu didn't look at her and said, "I'll send them out to work. Alive? It's overrun with zombies outside. There's no room to support 2,800 people." Zhao Linyu finally turned to look at her. The food supply is only enough for 300 people for a few months. If 2,800 people eat together, it'll be gone in a week. What will we do then? Cannibalism. Su Xiaotang was stunned. Lin Ruoxiu nodded gently beside her. He did the right thing. Su Xiaotang glared at her. Right about what? That's over 2,000 lives. The first group of people had already received their clothes and were escorted to the east gate. The gate slowly opened, revealing complete darkness outside, with only occasional distant roars that could be heard. Those people stood at the doorway, too afraid to move. "Let's go." The robot's voice rang out. No one moved. The electric fork lit up with a blue light. The person at the front screamed and rushed out. One after another, they surged into the darkness like dumplings being dropped into a pot. The door closed slowly. The second batch, the third batch, and the fourth batch. There are fewer and fewer people on the playground. Before leaving, some people turned back to look at the 300 who remained, their eyes filled with complex emotions, envy, jealousy, resentment, and despair. The 300 people stood still, none of them daring to move or speak. They watched as those being sent away were trembling. Some were secretly wiping away tears, and some lowered their heads, unable to look. Shen Lingshuang stood in the crowd, staring at Zhao Linyu's back, her gaze so complex that it was impossible to read her mind. By the time the last group of people were sent out, it was almost dawn. The playground was left in a mess, trampled prison uniforms, discarded shoes, and a few strands of hair left behind by someone. Zhao Linyu turned around and looked at the 300 people. They stood huddled together, shivering in the cold morning wind. Some were barefoot, some wore only thin underwear, and some were soaked to the bone, looking utterly disheveled. Xiaoqi, host, give them clothes. One set of prison clothes and one pair of shoes each. Also, give them a blanket. Receive. The robots began to move, carrying boxes of clothes and blankets out of the warehouse. The 300 men looked at those things, and a glimmer of life finally returned to their eyes. After they finished collecting their clothes, Zhao Linyu said again, "From this moment forward, you are official residents of this prison." He pointed to several buildings next to the playground. "That's the dormitory. 2 people per room, you decide for yourself. The canteen is on the east side of the playground, serving 2 meals a day at 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. The infirmary is behind the canteen, go see a doctor if you're sick. Work arrangements will be announced later." He paused. "There's only one rule, obey. If you don't, the main gate is still open." No one spoke. Zhao Linyu nodded. Zhao Linyu nodded. "All right, that's enough, everyone can go now." The crowd began to move, heading towards the dormitory building. Some walked hurriedly, eager to leave this awful place. Others walked slowly, secretly observing their surroundings. Some supported each other, while others walked alone with their heads down. Shen Lingshuang stood still. She stared at Zhao Linyu's retreating figure, her hand clutching the prison uniform until it was crumpled into a ball, etc. The sound wasn't loud, but it was exceptionally clear on the empty playground. Everyone stopped in their tracks. Zhao Linyu also stopped and turned around. Shen Lingshuang took a step forward and raised her chin. "I have something to say." Zhao Linyu looked at her without saying a word. Shen Lingshuang took a deep breath, her voice steady. "Why should you have the final say?" The playground was so quiet you could hear the wind blowing. "Just because those robots listen to me." Zhao Linyu replied calmly. "Machines are man-made. They can be destroyed once they're built." Shen Lingshuang stared at him. "Can you control them forever? What if they malfunction, run out of power, or get hacked? What will you do then?" Zhao Linyu raised an eyebrow. Shen Lingshuang continued, "You can use these to scare people now, no problem. But have you thought about it? Once these people realize what's going on, once they discover you're nothing but these machines, will you still be able to stand here and give orders?" A commotion broke out in the crowd. Some people whispered among themselves, some took a few steps back, and some secretly observed Zhao Linyu's expression. Shen Lingshuang took another step forward, raising her voice slightly. "And another thing, you said the food supply is only enough to feed 300 people for a few months. What about after that? What are you going to do? Kick another batch of us out? Or let us starve to death here?" "You?" Just as Su Xiaotang was about to speak, Lin Ruoxiu grabbed her arm. Zhao Linyu looked at Shen Lingshuang and remained silent for a few seconds. Then he laughed. The smile was faint, almost imperceptible, but Shen Lingshuang noticed it. Her heart skipped a beat. Are you finished? Zhao Linyu asked. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth and remained silent. Zhao Linyu took a step forward. You're right. These robots aren't omnipotent. If they malfunction, run out of power, or get hacked, there's really nothing I can do. He took another step forward. You're right. The food supply will only last a few months. I haven't thought about what to do after that. Take one more step. So what? He stood in front of Shen Lingshuang, looking down at her. What do you want? To lead these people in a rebellion? To kill me? And then what? You become the leader? You lead 300 men to farm? To go out and kill zombies? To steal food? Shen Lingshuang took a step back. Zhao Linyu continued. You were quite capable when you led your men to charge at the warehouse gate just now. I kept you on because you have some skill and courage. He paused. But the reason you're leading this trouble is because of this little skill and this little bit of courage. Shen Lingshuang's expression changed. Zhao Linyu took a step back and waved to the robot next to him. Arrest him. The two cleaners started up simultaneously and rushed towards Shen Lingshuang. Shen Lingshuang reacted extremely quickly, dodging the mechanical arm of the first robot with a sidestep, while simultaneously kicking the second one. Her movements were clean and efficient, clearly showing that she had practiced. But robots are not human. Her kicking leg was caught by the robotic arm, causing her to lose her balance and fall to the ground. Before she could get up, the four robotic arms of the two robots held her down firmly. Let me go? Shen Lingshuang struggled desperately, but she couldn't move at all. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Some tried to rush forward, but were held back tightly by those around them. Zhao Linyu walked over, squatted down, and looked at Shen Lingshuang. You just asked why I have the final say. He stood up and said to the robot. Tie her to that pole in the middle of the playground. Keep her there for 4 hours. Shen Lingshuang was stunned. 4 hours? Some people in the crowd were stunned. They had thought they'd be tied up for at least a day, but it was only 4 hours? Su Xiaotang muttered to herself. 4 hours, that seems alright. Lin Ruoxiu didn't speak, but looked at Zhao Linyu with a hint of something in her eyes. The robot dragged Shen Lingshuang to the center of the playground. There was a wooden pole there, and the robotic arm pressed her against the pole and began to wrap ropes around her body. Starting from the ankles, circle upwards, calves, knees, thighs, waist, chest, and finally, secure both arms behind your back. Shen Lingshuang was tied to the flagpole and couldn't move. Let me go? UFG, let me go. Zhao Linyu stood on the steps, looking at her. 4 hours. Start timing now. He turned to the remaining people and said, you guys, go back and rest. Breakfast is at the cafeteria at 7 a.m. tomorrow. We'll assemble on the playground at 8 a.m. for work assignments. He paused. Anyone who wants to stay with her can stay. No one moved. Let's call it a day. The crowd finally began to move. This time, no one hesitated, no one lingered. They lowered their heads and walked quickly towards the dormitory building. Su Xiaotang walked through the crowd and couldn't help but look back. Shen Lingshuang was tied to a flagpole, struggling in the first rays of morning sunlight. The ropes were tight, and she hadn't even had time to put on her prison uniform. The sun rose from the east, shining on her. Stop looking. Lin Ruoxiu pulled her forward. The playground gradually quieted down. The last person entered the dormitory building, and the door closed. Zhao Linyu stood on the steps, glanced at Shen Lingshuang on the flagpole, and turned to walk towards the monitoring center. He walked slowly and steadily, without ever looking back. The first hour. The sun had just risen, and the light wasn't too harsh yet. Shen Lingshuang was tied to the flagpole, gritting her teeth and remaining silent. She tried to struggle, but the rope was tied too tightly, and the more she struggled, the more it hurt. She tried to curse, but Zhao Linyu was long gone. Who could she curse at? Only robots patrolled the playground. Occasionally, one or two would pass by her, their red scanning lights sweeping over her before they continued on their way, as if they hadn't seen anything. Shen Lingshuang closed her eyes and told herself, it's only 4 hours, just bear with it and it will pass. She's Shen Lingshuang, a free-fighting coach. After going to prison, she caused countless troubles and was put in solitary confinement countless times. What's 4 hours? She can handle it. The second hour. As the sun rose higher, the light began to grow harsher. Shen Lingshuang's forehead began to sweat. The sweat streamed down her cheeks, stinging her eyes. She tried to raise her hand to wipe it, but her hands were tied behind her back and she couldn't move them. Oh shit. She muttered a curse under her breath, closed her eyes, and let the sweat flow on its own. But the sweat kept pouring down. Not just my forehead, neck, back, and chest, but my whole body was sweating. After being soaked in sweat, it sticks to my body, feeling sticky and uncomfortable. It's okay, she told herself. 2 more hours. It'll be over soon. In the distance, someone was peering out of a dormitory window. She's still there. It's only been 2 hours. It makes me feel sick just looking at it. Stop looking, let's go 8. Close the window. Shen Lingshuang was tied to the flagpole alone, continuing to sunbathe. The third hour. The sun had fully risen, directly over the playground. With no obstructions, the sunlight shone directly on her. Shen Lingshuang's lips began to dry. She licked them and found that her tongue was dry too. Thirsty. I'm very thirsty. Extremely thirsty. She began to regret not having eaten breakfast. She had been taken to the playground as soon as she woke up, without eating or drinking anything. Now her stomach was empty, and her throat felt like it was on fire. Water. She called out instinctively, but no one answered her. Robots walked back and forth in front of her, some carrying water cups, but they just passed by without even glancing at her. Shen Lingshuang stared at the water glasses, her throat bobbing. No, I can't beg for mercy. It's only been 3 hours. There's only 1 more hour left. She closed her eyes and began to think about other things. She thought about her training days, her competition days, and her days in prison. But no matter what you think about, it all comes down to one word in the end: thirst. I'm thirsty. 3.5 hours. Shen Lingshuang's head began to spin. The sun was so strong it made her scalp tingle, and her face burned. Sweat soaked her entire body, and her wet hair hung in clumps on her face. The most critical thing is, she couldn't hold it in any longer. I haven't been to the toilet in 3.5 hours since I woke up this morning. I had been enduring it, thinking I could still bear it. But now my body is weak from being exposed to the sun, and various bodily functions are starting to malfunction. She gritted her teeth. No, we can't do it here. So many people are watching. But there was no one on the playground. Only robots. But what about those robots? Will they see it? Will they report it? Shen Lingshuang's face flushed bright red, whether from the sun or from embarrassment, it was hard to tell. She tightened her grip even more. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. She started to tremble. It's not cold, it's suffocation. FK. She gritted her teeth, her whole body tense. Large beads of sweat dripped down her face, evaporating instantly upon hitting the ground. In the distance, Su Xiaotang was still peering out of the dormitory window. What's wrong with her? Su Xiaotang asked. Why is she shaking? Lin Ruoxiu walked over and glanced at it, then remained silent for a few seconds. It's probably from holding it in. Bottling it up? Bottling up what? Lin Ruoxiu didn't answer, and turned to leave. Su Xiaotang froze for a few seconds, then suddenly realized what she meant, and her face flushed red. Holy crap. She quickly closed the window. On the playground, Shen Lingshuang was still trembling. She looked up, gazing in the direction of the monitoring center. The window was dark, and she couldn't see inside. But she knew that the man was definitely watching. He was looking at her. Seeing her holding it in like this. Son of a BCH. She cursed, her voice so hoarse it was almost inaudible. Then, she broke down. A warm liquid flowed down my thigh. Shen Lingshuang froze. She looked down as the liquid flowed down, glistening in the sunlight as it hit the ground. Then it was absorbed by the dry earth, leaving only a dark trail. She closed her eyes. Tears streamed down my face. It wasn't because of pain, it wasn't because of thirst, it was because of shame. Shen Lingshuang had never been so humiliated in her life. The urine was still flowing, down her thighs, to her ankles, and onto the ground. The smell rose up, spreading in the hot air, she could smell it herself. Ugh. She let out a suppressed sob, buried her head, and wished she could die. 3 hours and 50 minutes. Shen Lingshuang has completely broken down. She lowered her head, trembling all over, not from holding it in, she had already done that long ago. She was crying. She cried for a full 20 minutes. From the moment she urinated, tears streamed down her face. It wasn't a loud wail, but a suppressed, silent sob. Her shoulders heaved, and she let out a small, animal-like whimper. Let me go. She finally spoke. Her voice was so hoarse it was almost inaudible. Please, let me go. A robot passing by stopped and its red scanning light swept over her. Beg me, a voice came from the robot. It was Zhao Linyu's voice. Shen Lingshuang suddenly raised her head. The robot stood in front of her, its scanning light pointed at her. The voice was coming from the speaker on its body. What did you just say? I didn't hear you. Shen Lingshuang stared at the robot, her lips trembling. She knew Zhao Linyu was watching from the monitoring center. He saw her now, soaking wet, reeking of urine, her hair disheveled, her face covered in tears and sweat. Speak louder. Zhao Linyu's voice was as calm as if he were discussing the weather. Shen Lingshuang closed her eyes. A new tear rolled down her cheek. Please, please, let me go. Whom should I ask? Please. Who I am. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth, her nails digging into her flesh. Prison guard Zhao. Okay, Zhao Linyu replied. 10 more minutes. Hang in there a little longer. Shen Lingshuang shuddered. No, I can't take it anymore. What can't you stand? I can't stand it. Her voice was completely hoarse, the sun, the thirst, and this smell. She lowered her head, not daring to look at the robot. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Shen Lingshuang. She looked up. Weren't you being pretty tough just now? Why should I be the one to call the shots, huh? Shen Lingshuang's tears flowed even more fiercely. I was wrong. What? I was wrong, she cried out, her voice hoarse and rough, like sandpaper. I shouldn't have talked back. I shouldn't have started this trouble. Please, let me go. Zhao Linyu fell silent again. Those few seconds felt like an eternity. Shen Lingshuang stared at the robot, trembling all over. She didn't know what Zhao Linyu was thinking. She didn't know if she would be rejected. She didn't know how much longer she would have to be tied to this position. Then, untie it. The robotic arm extended and began untying the rope. Shen Lingshuang went limp and almost collapsed to the ground. The robot caught her and lowered her down from the flagpole. She couldn't stand steadily, her legs felt like noodles. The stench of urine emanating from her was so strong it made her feel disgusted. But she couldn't care less about any of that now. She knelt down, kneeling on the scorching ground, facing the direction of the monitoring center. Thank you, prison guard Zhao. She kowtowed. When her forehead hit the ground, she could smell the urine emanating from her body, but she still kept going. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. In the monitoring center, Zhao Linyu leaned back in his chair, watching the images on the screen. Shen Lingshuang knelt on the ground and kowtowed to him. She was soaking wet, her hair was disheveled, and you could almost smell her odor through the screen. Su Xiaotang stared at the person standing in the cell, mouth agape, speechless for a long time. She knelt down. Zhao Linyu remained silent. She was just cursing at you, and now she's kneeling down. Zhao Linyu picked up his cup and took a sip of water. 4 hours, he said. Longer than I expected. Zhaoqi looked at him with a complicated expression. You knew this would happen. Zhao Linyu didn't answer, he just stared at the screen. On screen, Shen Lingshuang was still kneeling on the ground, kowtowing repeatedly. The robot standing next to her didn't react, its red scanning light swept over her as if it saw nothing. All right, Zhao Linyu said into the microphone, get up. Go back and take a shower. Don't be late tomorrow morning. Shen Lingshuang raised her head and looked in the direction of the monitoring center. Her face was covered in tear stains, sweat, and dust. Her lips were chapped, and her eyes were red and swollen. She could smell the odor emanating from her, but she still managed a smile. Thank you, Warden Zhao. She pushed herself up and staggered toward the dormitory building. With each step she took, the scent wafted out with her. Downstairs in the dormitory building, several people who had just finished eating were stunned when they saw her walking over. Then they smelled that scent. Someone covered their nose. Someone took a step back. Someone muttered under their breath, holy crap, what's that smell? Shen Lingshuang walked past them with her head down. She heard those words. She smelled her own odor. She felt those gazes disgusted, and gloating. But she didn't say anything. She simply lowered her head, quickened her pace, and entered the dormitory building. Behind me, the chatter continued. Did she wet her pants? It's not pants, she's not wearing any pants at all. Oh my god, that's like peeing directly on them. Stop talking about it, she's had a tough time too. Serves her right, who told her to be so foul-mouthed. Shen Lingshuang walked into the stairwell and closed the door. The smell is still there, but at least the sounds are gone. She leaned against the door, slowly slid down, and sat on the floor. Tears streamed down her face again. But it wasn't because of pain, thirst, or shame. It's because she finally understood. That man is someone you can't afford to mess with. 7 o'clock the next morning. The cafeteria was packed with people. Shen Lingshuang carried her tray and found a corner to sit down. She had taken a shower, changed her clothes, and her hair was still wet. But no matter how much she washed, she still felt that smell lingered on her. People nearby saw her approaching and quickly moved aside. Shen Lingshuang pretended not to see and lowered her head to eat. The doorway suddenly fell silent. She looked up. Zhao Linyu walked in. He was wearing the same police uniform as yesterday, and the day before. 2 robots followed behind him. All eyes were on him. Zhao Linyu walked to the food-serving window, ladled out a bowl of porridge for himself, took 2 steamed buns, then turned around and glanced at the people in the cafeteria. His gaze lingered on Shen Lingshuang for a second. Shen Lingshuang tensed up completely. Then he looked away, picked up his tray, walked to another table, and sat down. Let's start eating. The cafeteria was so quiet you could hear people chewing. Shen Lingshuang lowered her head and continued eating her meal. She didn't know what would happen next. She didn't know what her job was today. She didn't know where she would be assigned. But she knew one thing. She won't mess with that man again. Forever. At 8 a.m. sharp, assemble on the playground. 300 people stood in several rows, shivering in the morning light. Zhao Linyu stood on the steps, holding a list in his hand. Work assignments begin today. He began to read out names. The person whose name was called was taken by the robot to a designated location, the kitchen, the vegetable garden, the cleaning area, or the perimeter patrol area. When the reading was finished, there were still about 10 people left. Zhao Linyu put away the list and looked at the remaining people. You lot, come with me. He turned and walked towards the monitoring center. The remaining people looked at each other, unsure of what this meant. Shen Lingshuang stood in the crowd, watching his back. Her legs were still weak, and the lingering smell seemed to still be there. But she gritted her teeth and followed. As she reached the entrance of the monitoring center, she suddenly heard someone whisper behind her. Sister Shuang had a terrible day yesterday. Another person whispered back, yes, I heard she knelt down and begged for forgiveness, kowtowing several times. Really, I saw it with my own eyes. Holy crap, is she still Sister Shuang? What? Frost sister, you're Frost dog now, aren't you? Shen Lingshuang paused for a moment. But she didn't turn around, nor did she say anything. She simply lowered her head, quickened her pace, and walked into the monitoring center. The door closed behind me. The door closed behind me. 10 people stood in the monitoring center, looking at each other in bewilderment. The room wasn't large, filled with screens and equipment. In the center was a long table and several chairs. A prison floor plan hung on the wall, densely covered with various markings. Zhao Linyu walked to the control panel, sat down, turned his back to them, and began typing. No one dared to speak. Shen Lingshuang stood at the front, her whole body tense. She didn't know what would happen next. After showering and changing her clothes, she thought she had recovered, but standing in this room, the feeling of being tied to the flagpole returned. Su Xiaotang stood beside her, looking around with curiosity in her eyes. Lin Ruoxiu stood in the back row, her head slightly lowered, but her eyes were constantly observing, scanning every screen and every button. The other 7 were also young, the oldest looking no more than 30, the youngest probably only in their early 20s. They stood in a row, like soldiers awaiting inspection. After Zhao Linyu finished typing, he turned around. His gaze swept across the faces of the 10 people, looking at them one by one. Shen Lingshuang, Su Xiaotang, Lin Ruoxiu. There were 7 more he pointed out from the crowd yesterday. Do you know why I called you here? No one answered. Zhao Linyu stood up and walked over to them. Because you are the best looking among these 300 people. Su Xiaotang was taken aback for a moment, and subconsciously glanced at the people next to her. Indeed, these 10 people standing together were significantly more attractive than average. So, Shen Lingshuang couldn't help but ask, her voice still hoarse from yesterday, what do you want us to do? A beauty pageant. Zhao Linyu glanced at her. Shen Lingshuang shut her mouth. From today onwards, you will be my personal maids. The room was silent for 2 seconds. Then Su Xiaotang burst out laughing. A maid? Are you kidding me? Zhao Linyu looked at her without saying a word. Su Xiaotang's smile froze on her face. Do I look like I'm joking? Su Xiaotang opened her mouth, as if to say something, but Lin Ruoxiu tugged at her sleeve. Shen Lingshuang's face flushed crimson. She gritted her teeth, staring at Zhao Linyu, her chest heaving violently. You want us to be maids, right? Serve you, right? On what grounds? Zhao Linyu looked at her and suddenly smiled. On what grounds? He took a step forward. On the grounds where you knelt yesterday begging me to let you go. On the grounds where you peed all over yourself. On the grounds where you're standing here now, still smelling of that. Shen Lingshuang's face changed from red to white, and then from white to red again. You? What about me? Zhao Linyu interrupted her. Why do you think I kept you here? Because you're good at fighting? Because you're capable of leading trouble? He took a step back and looked at everyone. I kept you because you're young, good-looking, and pleasing to the eye. It's that simple. The room was so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. Starting today, you'll be living here. Zhao Linyu pointed to a door nearby. There's a bed and a bathroom inside. Your job is to take care of me, clean the room, do laundry, cook, and serve me tea and water. He looked at Shen Lingshuang. Including getting me food. Shen Lingshuang's nails dug into her flesh. Those who don't want to can leave now. No one moved. The playground is right outside the gate. After you go out, someone will give you a set of prison clothes, then open the gate. You saw what was happening outside yesterday. Still, no one moved. Zhao Linyu nodded. Then it's settled. He walked to the control panel and sat down, his back to them. Xiaoqi, host. Teach them how to be maids. Receive. 10 small robots descended from the ceiling. They were much smaller than the cleaners, only about half a person's height, round and chubby, and looked somewhat comical. This is a household robot, model number Xiaoyuan. It is responsible for supervising your daily work and behavior. Let's begin the first lesson, standing posture. 10 small round robots floated in front of each person, their red scanning lights sweeping over them. Head up, chest out, stomach in. Hands hanging naturally at your sides. Su Xiaotang rolled her eyes and stood still. Suddenly, a thin metal arm extended from the small round device in front of her and gently tapped her waist. Sizzle. A slight electric current. Su Xiaotang screamed and sprang up, almost jumping onto the ceiling. What the hell are you doing? Posture incorrect. Electric shock warning, intensity level 1. Su Xiaotang stared wide-eyed at the small round device, her chest heaving violently. The little circle floated in front of her, the scanning light pointed at her. Please stand up straight again. Su Xiaotang gritted her teeth and slowly stood up straight. Look up. She looked up. Chest out. She straightened her chest. Abdominal contraction. She pulled in her stomach. Xiao Yuan scanned her over. Passed. Su Xiaotang breathed a sigh of relief. Nearby, others were receiving the same instructions. Some were pressed on the waist, some on the back, and some on the buttocks. Each time it was a slight electric current, not fatal, but definitely painful enough. The room was filled with screams and gasps. Shen Lingshuang stood there, motionless. The small circle in front of her floated back and forth, scanning it for a long time, but she still couldn't find anything wrong with it. Standing posture is acceptable. Shen Lingshuang breathed a sigh of relief. Then the little circle floated in front of her, and the scanning light was pointed at her face. Expression is not acceptable. Please keep smiling. Shen Lingshuang was stunned. What? Expression is not acceptable. Please keep smiling. Shen Lingshuang's face froze. She couldn't smile. Xiao Yuan waited for 3 seconds. Then the metal arm extended and gently touched the corner of her mouth. Sizzle. Shen Lingshuang shuddered, her lips twitching. Please keep smiling. She gritted her teeth and forced a smile that looked more like a grimace. Xiao Yuan scanned it. Unsatisfactory. Insufficient smile definition. Improvement is recommended. Shen Lingshuang took a deep breath and pulled the corners of her mouth upwards. Unqualified. Keep going. Unqualified. Keep going. Unqualified. IFG. Sizzle. Shen Lingshuang jumped up, covered her mouth, and tears welled up in her eyes. Zhao Linyu had his back to them, his shoulders trembling slightly. 10 minutes later, the 10 people finally stood in a row. Perfect posture, perfect smile, as if they were cut from the same mold. Xiaotang's face was still twitching. She had been tapped on the waist 3 times, the back twice, and the buttocks once, and now her whole body was numb. Lin Ruoxiu learned it quickly. She stood straight, her smile just right, but her eyes were always observing Zhao Linyu's back. Shen Lingshuang stood at the very edge, her lips still trembling. Not from pain, but from anger. Lesson 1 completed. Now we begin Lesson 2, Titles. 10 small round machines opened simultaneously. From today onwards, you must address the host as Master. The room fell silent for a second. Then Xiaotang laughed again. Master, do you think we're dogs? Sizzle. Xiaotang clutched her waist and jumped up. Addressing someone as their master is a sign of respect. Any speech or action that fails to use proper address will be punished. Xiaotang gritted her teeth and remained silent. Start practicing now. Xiao Yuan floated to Xiaotang's side. Please say, good morning, master. Xiaotang stared at the small round car, then glanced at Zhao Linyu's back. Zhao Linyu remained with his back to them, motionless. She took a deep breath. Good morning, master. The sound is too soft, I can't hear it. Xiaotang gritted her teeth. Good morning, master. Passed. The little round object floated up to Lin Ruoxiu. Please say, master, what do you need? Lin Ruoxiu looked at the small round car, then at Zhao Linyu's back. Her expression was calm, revealing no emotion. Master, what do you need? Passed. The little circle floated to Shen Lingshuang's side. Shen Lingshuang's face was tense. She stared at the small round camera, then glanced at Zhao Linyu's back. Her lips moved, but she didn't utter a sound. Xiao Yuan waited for 3 seconds. Please say, master, welcome back. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth, letting out a soft sound. Can't hear. She tried again. I still can't hear it. A small, round metal arm extends out. Last chance. Please say, master, welcome back. Shen Lingshuang closed her eyes. Master, welcome back. The sound was so faint, like a mosquito's buzz, but Xiao Yuan heard it. Passed. Shen Lingshuang opened her eyes and looked at Zhao Linyu's back. The figure remained motionless. She didn't know what he was thinking. She didn't know if he was laughing at her. She didn't know when all of this would end. But she knew one thing. She just called him master. They really did scream. Now we begin Lesson 3, Obedience Test. 10 small round objects floated to the center of the room at the same time and lined up in a row. Now, please follow the instructions to complete the action. First action, kneeling. The room was so quiet you could hear someone breathing. Xiaotang was stunned. Kneel, kneel. Xiaotang's face flushed red. She glanced at the people next to her, then at Zhao Linyu's back. I don't. Sizzle. Xiaotang clutched her waist and jumped up, tears welling in her eyes. Kneel. She gritted her teeth, slowly bent her knees, and knelt on the ground. Lin Ruoxiu glanced at Zhao Linyu, then calmly knelt down. Her movements were natural, as if she had done it many times before. One by one, the others knelt down. In the end, only Shen Lingshuang remained. She stood there, trembling. Not from the cold, but from anger, shame, and hatred. The little circle floated in front of her. Kneel. Shen Lingshuang stared at the small round device, her chest heaving violently. Sizzle. An electric current came from behind. She turned around and saw that another small round robot had floated up behind her at some point. Kneel. 2 small round cars, one in front and one behind, sandwiched her in the middle. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth, her nails digging into her flesh. Then she slowly bent her knees. Kneel on the ground. The floor was hard and cold. She lowered her head, looking at her knees, tears welling up in her eyes. Passed. Now we begin the second movement, kneeling position requirements. Stand upright, place your hands on your knees, and look straight ahead. The 10 people began to adjust their postures. Shen Lingshuang, bowing her head is unacceptable. Shen Lingshuang slowly raised her head and looked ahead. Ahead is Zhao Linyu's back view. He remained seated there, motionless, like a statue. Passed. Third action, awaiting instructions. The little circles floated to one side, leaving 10 people kneeling on the ground. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. Xiaotang's legs began to go numb. She tried to move, but Xiao Yuan was floating beside her, the red scanning light constantly pointed at them. She stole a glance at Zhao Linyu's retreating figure. That BD, what is he trying to do? 5 minutes. Shen Lingshuang's knees started to hurt. The floor was too hard, and she had been kneeling for too long. She gritted her teeth, enduring the pain, and refused to move. She dared not move. She was afraid of being electrocuted. She was afraid of losing face again. 10 minutes. Finally, Zhao Linyu made a move. He stood up, turned around, and walked up to them. 10 people knelt on the ground, looking up at him. His gaze swept across each face, looking at them one by one. Some were trembling, some were gritting their teeth, some were expressionless, and some had red eyes. Xiaotang couldn't help but ask, Master, can we get up now? Zhao Linyu glanced at her. Xiaotang quickly shut her mouth. Zhao Linyu walked up to Shen Lingshuang and stopped. Shen Lingshuang looked up at him. Her eyes were red, but no tears fell. Her lips trembled, but she bit her lip and didn't make a sound. Zhao Linyu squatted down to look her in the eye. Are you feeling unwell? Shen Lingshuang remained silent. I'm asking you, are you feeling unwell? Shen Lingshuang's lips moved slightly. I feel terrible. Want to stand up. Think. Do you want this treatment? Shen Lingshuang was taken aback. Zhao Linyu stood up, took a step back, and looked at everyone. You think I made you into maids to humiliate you? No one answered. You are wrong. He pointed to the screen on the wall. The screen displayed a floor plan of the prison, as well as surveillance footage from outside. Zombies roamed outside the walls, densely packed. You've seen what's happening outside. You've also seen what's happening inside. 300 people, I can't manage them all by myself. I need help. He looked at Shen Lingshuang. Yesterday you asked me why I had the final say. Now I'll tell you, it's because I can keep these people alive. It's because I can provide them with food, a place to sleep, and protection from zombies. He looked at Su Xiaotang again. You just asked if I was joking. I wasn't. I need help, but I need obedient people. Disobedient people. He pointed outside the door. The gate is still open. The room fell silent. Shen Lingshuang kept her head down, lost in thought. Lin Ruoxiu raised her head and looked at Zhao Linyu. So, what is our job? Zhao Linyu glanced at her. Cleaning the room, doing laundry, cooking, serving tea and water, and more. He paused. Ready to serve at any time. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. Understood. Zhao Linyu raised an eyebrow. You just accept it like that. Lin Ruoxiu looked at him, her expression calm. You just said there are zombies outside and 300 people inside. You want us to be maids? We'll be maids. At least here, we have food, a place to sleep, and we won't get electrocuted. She paused. Besides, you have a good eye for people. Zhao Linyu paused for a moment, then smiled. The smile was faint, but it was definitely a smile. A smart person. He turned and walked back. All right, get up. Zhaoqi will tell you how to arrange the rooms and assign tasks. He walked to the control panel and sat down, his back to them. I need to eat breakfast at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Millet porridge, 2 boiled eggs, and pickled vegetables, optional. Don't be late. Su Xiaotang stood up, rubbed her knees, and muttered under her breath, 6 o'clock, earlier than the labor camp. A small round object floated over from the side, its scanning light pointed at her. Su Xiaotang quickly shut her mouth. The 10 people followed Xiao Yuan into the room next door. As she reached the door, Shen Lingshuang suddenly stopped. She glanced back at Zhao Linyu's retreating figure. That figure remained unchanged, motionless. She gritted her teeth, turned around, and walked out. The door closed behind me. The room fell silent. Zhao Linyu leaned back in his chair, looking at the spots on the screen where people had knelt. 10 people had just been kneeling there, now only an empty space remained. Xiaoqi, host. How long do you think they can hold out? In progress with data analysis. Shen Lingshuang has strong willpower, but her pride is too high. It is estimated that she will need 3 to 5 punishments to become completely obedient. Su Xiaotang is lively but has poor obedience. She is expected to require 5 to 7 punishments. Lin Ruoxiu has high intelligence and strong adaptability. She is expected to be completely obedient without punishment. The remaining 7 people are currently undergoing data analysis. Zhao Linyu listened without saying a word. Host, do you really need a maid? Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Unnecessary. Then why? Zhao Linyu did not answer. He looked out the window, at the female prisoners working on the playground, and at the zombies wandering outside the wall. Because I'm too lonely. The voice was so soft that Zhaoqi almost didn't hear it. Host. Nothing. Zhao Linyu stood up and walked to the window. The sun is shining brightly outside. Some people are planting vegetables on the playground, others are cleaning, and robots are patrolling. Everything was in perfect order. But Zhao Linyu knew that this was only temporary. The food will run out, the robots will malfunction, and the number of zombies will increase. He needs someone who can truly help him. No, there's more than one. It's a group. A group of people who are smart enough, obedient enough, and good-looking enough. He looked out the window and suddenly smiled. Xiaoqi, host. Remember to remind me to eat breakfast at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Receive. Zhao Linyu turned around and went into the room next door. That was his bedroom. It was small, with only a bed, a table, and a chair. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Footsteps and voices came from outside the door. The 10 people were dividing up rooms, packing their things, and adapting to their new life. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow is another day. The door closed behind me. 10 people stood in the next room, looking at each other in bewilderment. The room was bigger than I expected. There were 5 bunk beds against the wall, making a total of 10 beds. On the other side was the toilet and shower room, and further in there was another door, but I didn't know where it led. Su Xiaotang plopped down on the nearest bed, rubbing her knees. Damn. I knelt for 10 minutes, my legs are numb. Lin Ruoxiu walked to the window and glanced outside. The window faced the playground, and she could see the female prisoners working. Robots moved through the crowd. Everything was orderly. Stop looking. Shen Lingshuang's voice came from behind. Let's take a look at where we're staying first. She walked to the closed door and pushed it. The door opened. Inside was a small room, simply furnished with a bed, a table, and a chair. A few clothes hung on the wall, and some personal belongings were on the table. Shen Lingshuang was taken aback. This The master bedroom, Lin Ruoxiu said, walking over and glancing at it. Zhao Linyu's room. Su Xiaotang also came over. He lives next door to us. Shen Lingshuang didn't speak, stared at the bed for a few seconds, and then closed the door. Never mind him. Pack your things first. The 10 people started assigning beds and tidying up their belongings. The room gradually came alive, some were making their beds, some were rummaging through closets, and some were going into the bathroom to take a shower. Shen Lingshuang sat on her bed, lost in thought. Her knees were still aching. Those 10 minutes of kneeling were more painful than being tied to a flagpole for 4 hours. At least when she was tied up, she didn't have to maintain a posture, but when she was kneeling, she dared not move for fear of being electrocuted. Sister Shuang. She looked up. Lin Ruoxiu was standing in front of her. What's wrong? Have you thought it through? Shen Lingshuang was taken aback. What have you decided? Lin Ruoxiu looked at her, her expression calm. What are our current identities? What are we going to do in the future? How are we going to survive? Shen Lingshuang remained silent. Lin Ruoxiu continued, that man, Zhao Linyu, he's not joking. He really needs us to be his maids. To serve him meals, wash his clothes, bring him tea and water, and more. She paused, ready to serve at any time. Shen Lingshuang's face darkened. What do you want to say? I want to say, Lin Ruoxiu's voice was soft, that it's either accept it or resist it. There is no third way. Shen Lingshuang stared at her. You choose to accept. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. He's right. Outside are zombies, inside are 300 people. He's the only policeman, and those robots obey him. Resist? What can they possibly use to resist? Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth. So we'll become his slave. Not slaves, Lin Ruoxiu corrected her, they're maids. They have food to eat, a place to sleep, and they won't be electrocuted. Much better than those digging trenches outside. Shen Lingshuang fell silent. Lin Ruoxiu looked at her, waited a few seconds, then turned and left. Su Xiaotang leaned over at some point and whispered, Sister Shuang, I think she's right. Let's hold off for now and talk about it later. Shen Lingshuang remained silent. She looked out the window, at the female prisoners working, and at the zombies wandering outside the walls. Then she lowered her head. Sleep. 5:50 a.m. the next morning. Little Round floated into the room right on time, and the red scanning light turned on. Time to wake up. Please finish washing up within 3 minutes and proceed to the master bedroom to await further instructions. 10 people got out of bed. Some rubbed their eyes, some yawned, and some were still in a daze. Shen Lingshuang was the first to rush into the bathroom. When she came out, everyone else was already in line. Now proceeding to the master bedroom. 10 people pushed open the door and entered Zhao Linyu's room. He was still lying in bed, his back to them, motionless. Little Yuan floated to his side. Host, the maid is ready. Zhao Linyu stirred and slowly sat up. He was wearing a vest and shorts, his hair was messy, and he looked sleepy. He glanced at the 10 people standing in a row and yawned. What time is it? 5.58 points. He threw back the covers, stepped barefoot onto the floor, and went into the bathroom. The door closed. 10 people stood there, unsure of what to do. Su Xiaotang asked softly, shall we wait here? No one answered. 2 minutes later, the bathroom door opened. Zhao Linyu came out, already changed into his police uniform and with his hair neatly combed. He walked to the table, sat down, and looked at them. Today's breakfast. Su Xiaotang was stunned for a moment, then realized what she meant. I'll go fight. She turned and ran outside, then stopped at the door, turned back and asked, millet porridge, 2 boiled eggs, and pickled vegetables as you like, right? Zhao Linyu nodded. Su Xiaotang ran out. The room fell silent. Zhao Linyu looked at the remaining people and remained silent for a few seconds. The rest of you, your task today is to clean. This room, the monitoring center, and your own living quarters all need to be cleaned thoroughly. He pointed to the cabinet in the corner. The cleaning tools are over there. Xiao Yuan will show you how. Receive. Shen Lingshuang stood still. Zhao Linyu glanced at her. Do you have a problem? Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth. No. Then get to work. Shen Lingshuang turned and walked to the corner, opened the cabinet, and took out a broom and a rag. Lin Ruoxiu had already started. She took a rag and carefully wiped the control panel, leaving no corner untouched. The others also found their own work to do. Only Shen Lingshuang stood there, staring blankly at the broom in her hand. She, Shen Lingshuang, a free-fighting coach, caused countless disturbances and was placed in solitary confinement after going to prison. Now you're sweeping floors for people? Sister Shuang, Lin Ruoxiu's voice came from the side. The floor over there hasn't been swept yet. Shen Lingshuang looked up and saw Lin Ruoxiu looking at her. There was no mockery, no pity in his eyes, only calmness. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth and began sweeping the floor. 10 minutes later, Su Xiaotang ran back with a tray of food. Breakfast is here. She placed the plate in front of Zhao Linyu, millet porridge, 2 boiled eggs, a dish of pickled vegetables, and 2 steamed buns. Zhao Linyu glanced at her, then looked up at her. Then what? Su Xiaotang was stunned. And then, Maid's Code of Conduct, Rule 7, maids must serve their masters during meals. Xiao Yuan floated over, her scanning light pointing at Su Xiaotang. Please follow the guidelines. Su Xiaotang's face froze. Serve? How do you serve? For example, peeling eggs, serving porridge, picking up vegetables, etc. Su Xiaotang looked at the plate of eggs, then at Zhao Linyu. Zhao Linyu didn't speak, he just looked at her. She gritted her teeth, picked up an egg, and began to peel it. Peel it and hand it over. Zhao Linyu took it and took a bite. It's too salty. Su Xiaotang was taken aback. The eggs are salty. Maid's Code of Conduct, Article 9, when the master is eating, you must always be attentive to the master's needs. Little Round floated over. If the owner says it's too salty, you should offer them water. Su Xiaotang's face flushed red. She quickly picked up the water glass next to her and handed it over. Zhao Linyu took it and took a sip. The porridge is too hot. Su Xiaotang picked up a spoon and began stirring the porridge. The eggs weren't peeled cleanly. She picked up another egg and began to peel it. Break the steamed bun in half. She broke the steamed bun open. Breakfast took 20 minutes. Su Xiaotang stood beside her, acting like a waitress, peeling eggs, stirring porridge, handing her water, and handing her tissues. By the time Zhao Linyu finished eating, she was covered in sweat. Breakfast served successfully. Little Round floated over. Su Xiaotang breathed a sigh of relief. Then she saw Shen Lingshuang standing in the corner, holding a broom, watching her. There was something strange in his eyes, not pity, not mockery, but complexity. Su Xiaotang lowered her head, picked up her tray, and left. Noon. Zhao Linyu sat at the control panel watching the monitors. 10 people stood behind him, waiting for the next instruction. Xiaoqi, host. What are your plans for this afternoon? 2 p.m. Inspection of the outer trenches progress 3 p.m. Inventory of kitchen supplies 4 p.m. Patrol handover 5 p.m. All right, Zhao Linyu interrupted, let them follow. He stood up and walked outside. He reached the doorway and suddenly stopped. Oh, right. He glanced back. I'm going to soak my feet tonight. Get ready. After saying that, he walked out. The 10 people stood there, looking at each other in bewilderment. Foot bath? Su Xiaotang asked softly, should we make him some water to wash his feet? No one answered. 8 p.m. Zhao Linyu sat in a chair with a foot bath basin in front of him. The basin was filled with hot water and steaming. 10 people stood in front of him. Let's begin. No one moved. Zhao Linyu glanced at them. What? You don't know how? Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth and took a step forward. I'll do it. She squatted down, put her hand into the basin, and tested the water temperature. It's a little hot. She looked up at Zhao Linyu. Water temperature. Zhao Linyu didn't speak, he just looked at her. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth and put his feet into the basin. Zhao Linyu's feet were very white and large, with long, slender toes. When Shen Lingshuang's hand touched his feet, she stiffened for a moment. She had never touched a man's feet, but her hand still moved. Start washing. Start from the instep, then move to the arch, between the toes, and to the heel. Wash every part, scrub every inch of skin. The room was quiet, with only the sound of water. Shen Lingshuang lowered her head, her face flushed red. She could feel the gazes of the people behind her, she could feel Zhao Linyu's gaze, and she could feel her hand touching a man's foot. Push harder. Zhao Linyu's voice came from above. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth and increased the pressure on her hands. Between the toes. She washed between her toes. The soles of the feet. She rubbed the soles of her feet. Heel. She rubbed her heels. 10 minutes later, the washing was finished. Shen Lingshuang stood up, her hands still wet, unsure of what to do with them. Wipe your feet. Someone handed me a towel. Shen Lingshuang took it, squatted down, and began wiping. Start from the instep, then move to the arch, between the toes, and to the heel. Dry every part of the foot, making sure every inch of skin is covered. After wiping, she stood up and took a step back. Zhao Linyu looked at his feet and nodded. Good. He put on his slippers, stood up, and walked towards the bedroom. He reached the doorway and suddenly stopped. Massage tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. The door closed. 10 people stood there, and none of them spoke. Su Xiaotang muttered to herself, a massage, he wouldn't want us to give him a massage, would he? No one answered. The next morning at 6 o'clock. Zhao Linyu sat in a chair, his back to them. Start. No one moved. Su Xiaotang glanced at Shen Lingshuang. Shen Lingshuang had her head down, seemingly lost in thought. Lin Ruoxiu took a step forward. I'll do it. She walked behind Zhao Linyu and put her hand on his shoulder. Start pressing. She started from the shoulders, then moved to the neck, back, and arms. Her technique was professional, and the pressure was just right. Zhao Linyu kept his eyes closed and didn't speak. Lin Ruoxiu pressed for 20 minutes, then took a step back. That's fine. Zhao Linyu opened his eyes and stretched his shoulders. Have you studied this? When I worked at the bank, I specifically learned massage techniques. These were for preparing things for customers. Zhao Linyu nodded. From now on, you will be in charge of massages. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. Yes, master. Zhao Linyu stood up and glanced at Shen Lingshuang. Shen Lingshuang kept her head down and didn't look at him. He said nothing and walked out. Shen Lingshuang, Su Xiaotang, and Lin Ruoxue were punished by Zhao Linyu for having the worst performance among the 10 maids for a week. They were stripped of their outer garments and hung up as punishment. 4 hours later, someone came to wipe their bodies. It was another girl, in her early 20s, very pretty. She carried a basin of warm water and a towel, and walked up to Shen Lingshuang. Let me wipe it for you. Shen Lingshuang remained silent. The girl picked up the towel. Shen Lingshuang tensed up completely. Don't be nervous, the girl said. We're all girls. A warm towel was used to wipe the skin, starting from the neck, down to the shoulders, back, chest, and stomach. Shen Lingshuang closed her eyes, gritted her teeth, and let her wipe her. When she touched the whip marks on her back, the girl softened her movements. Does it hurt? Shen Lingshuang remained silent. The girl continued wiping. After wiping my upper body, I started wiping my lower body. Shen Lingshuang's face flushed bright red. Just bear with it, the girl said. It'll be over soon. The towel wiped my thighs, my knees, my calves, and my feet. Finally, the girl lifted her foot and carefully wiped between her toes. Shen Lingshuang recalled the time she washed Zhao Linyu's feet. She felt ashamed as she squatted on the ground washing his feet. Now she's hanging there, her body being wiped, which is even more shameful. But things are different now. She felt humiliated at that moment. Now all she feels is, living is really hard. Su Xiaotang was the first to give up. I give up. I give up. Put me down. She cried and screamed until her voice became hoarse. Nobody paid any attention to her. She continued, Master, I was wrong. I won't cause trouble again. I'll do anything you want. Still, no one responded. She called for half an hour before someone finally came. It's Zhao Linyu. He stood at the doorway, looking at the three people hanging there. When Su Xiaotang saw him, her tears flowed even more fiercely. Master, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please put me down. I'll be your slave. Zhao Linyu looked at her and remained silent for a few seconds. Are you really convinced? I'm truly impressed. No regrets. No regrets? Zhao Linyu nodded. The cleaner went over and put Su Xiaotang down. She collapsed to the ground, her body limp, unable to stand up. Zhao Linyu walked up to her and looked down at her. Now you know what to do. Su Xiaotang nodded frantically. I know, I'll be good. I'll listen to everything. Zhao Linyu didn't say anything more, turned around and left. Su Xiaotang was helped up and seated on a chair nearby. Someone brought her water, someone fed her, and someone wiped her body. She sat there, looking at Shen Lingshuang and Lin Ruoxue who were still hanging there, and tears streamed down her face again. Sister Shuang. Sister Ruoxue. You've both given up, haven't you? It's too painful. Shen Lingshuang remained silent. Lin Ruoxue opened her eyes, glanced at her, and then closed them again. Day 4. Lin Ruoxue spoke. Put me down. The sound wasn't loud, but it was very clear. Zhao Linyu arrived quickly. He stood in front of Lin Ruoxue, looking at her. Give in. Lin Ruoxue nodded. I give up. Why? Lin Ruoxue looked at him, her expression calm. Because I've figured it out. You're right. Zhao Linyu raised an eyebrow. Tell me about it. Outside are zombies, inside are 300 people. Making us maids isn't an insult, it's giving us a way to survive. The others can't even go to the kitchen, can't even go to dig trenches on the outskirts, but at least we're here, with food to eat and a place to sleep. She paused. Besides, you need help. We need to be obedient for you to trust us. If you don't trust us, we'll always just be maids, not helpers. Zhao Linyu looked at her and remained silent for a few seconds. Then he laughed. Clever. He waved. The cleaner put Lin Ruoxue down. When she landed on the ground, her legs buckled and she almost fell, but someone caught her. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Take a couple of days off. Then come see me. Lin Ruoxue nodded. Yes, master. She was helped away. Shen Lingshuang was left alone in the control room. She was still hanging there, watching Lin Ruoxue's retreating figure as she was helped away, her eyes filled with complex emotions. Night. Shen Lingshuang was hanging alone in the control room. She had stopped crying and shouting. She just hung there, occasionally opening her eyes to look around, then closing them again. She drinks water when someone brings her water, eats food when someone brings her food, and lets them do whatever they want to her when someone comes to bathe her. But she just wouldn't say a word. The next day, Shen Lingshuang spoke. Put me down. Zhao Linyu stood in front of her, looking at her. Shen Lingshuang's face was very pale, her lips were chapped, and her eyes were red and swollen. After being suspended for 2 days, she had lost a lot of weight and looked like a skeleton. But her eyes were still shining. Are you convinced? Zhao Linyu asked. Shen Lingshuang nodded. I give up. Why? Shen Lingshuang remained silent for a few seconds. Because I want to live. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Shen Lingshuang continued. Lin Ruoxue is right. Death is useless. Only by living can one have a chance. She paused. And you're an idiot. Zhao Linyu was taken aback. Shen Lingshuang looked at him, a weak smile tugging at the corners of her lips. It was a smile, but it was indeed a smile. But I accepted it. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Then he laughed. Put her down. The cleaner went over and untied the rope. Shen Lingshuang landed, collapsing to the ground, her body limp. Zhao Linyu squatted down and looked at her. Now you know what to do. Shen Lingshuang nodded. No. No regrets. No regrets. Zhao Linyu stood up and looked at her. Take a couple of days off. Then come see me. Shen Lingshuang nodded. Zhao Linyu turned and walked out. As I reached the door, I suddenly heard a voice behind me. Owner. He stopped and looked back. Shen Lingshuang lay on the ground, raised her head, and looked at him. Thanks. Zhao Linyu looked at her for a few seconds, then nodded and walked out. Shen Lingshuang lay on the ground, watching that figure disappear through the doorway. Then she closed her eyes. 2 days. It's finally over. 2 days later, Shen Lingshuang stood in front of Zhao Linyu. She took a shower, changed her clothes, ate, and rested well. Although she was still a little thin, she felt much better. Zhao Linyu sat in the chair, looking at her. Ready. Shen Lingshuang nodded. Ready. Do you know what to do? Shen Lingshuang remained silent for a second. No. Tell me about it. Shen Lingshuang took a deep breath. Serving you meals, washing your feet, giving you massages, cleaning your room, doing laundry, serving you tea and water, and more. She paused, ready to serve at any time. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Are you willing to accept this? Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth. I'm willing. Zhao Linyu stood up and walked up to her. Shen Lingshuang tensed up, but didn't move. Zhao Linyu looked at her for a few seconds, then reached out and patted her on the shoulder. Work hard. He turned and walked out. Shen Lingshuang stood there, watching his retreating figure. Her hands were still trembling, but she told herself, it's good that you're alive. After Shen Lingshuang was helped away, the control room fell silent. Zhao Linyu sat at the control panel, watching the monitor screen. Everything was normal on the playground, dinner was being prepared in the kitchen, people were digging trenches on the outer perimeter, and people were resting in the dormitory building. Everything is in good order, but that wasn't what he was thinking about. He recalled the words Lin Ruoxiu had said when she was put down. You're right. You need help. We need to be obedient for you to trust us. If you don't trust us, we'll always just be maids, not helpers. Clever. That's FG smart. Zhao Linyu leaned back in his chair and stared at the screen for a while. Then he heard a voice. Host, there is an incoming call on the cell call system. Zhao Linyu was taken aback. The prison cell? Who? Caller ID, Lin Ruoxiu. Zhao Linyu raised an eyebrow. He pressed the answer button. Hello. Commander Zhao, Lin Ruoxiu's voice came through the loudspeaker, calm and as if reporting a task. Could I have a few minutes of your time? Zhao Linyu was silent for a second. Explain. I'd like to talk to you. What should we talk about? Let's talk about how I can help you. Zhao Linyu smiled. What you should be doing right now is rest. Your legs are weak after being in a sling all day, aren't they? Yes, Lin Ruoxiu answered honestly, but there are some things that, if I don't say them now, I'm afraid I won't have the chance later. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Come to the monitoring center. He hung up the phone. 5 minutes later, the door opened. Lin Ruoxiu walked in. She had changed into clean clothes, her hair was still wet, and her complexion was much better than when she was hanging up, but she was still a little unsteady on her feet. Zhao Linyu pointed to the chair next to him. Sit. Lin Ruoxiu sat down and looked at him. Zhao Linyu was also looking at her. The two were silent for a few seconds. Speak, Zhao Linyu said first. Lin Ruoxiu took a deep breath. Commander Zhao, I want to help you. Help me? Help with what? I'll help you manage these 300 people. Zhao Linyu raised an eyebrow. Go on. Lin Ruoxiu began her analysis. You now have robots, weapons, and food, so these people fear you and obey you. But have you considered how long this fear can last? Zhao Linyu remained silent. Lin Ruoxiu continued. People adapt. Once they adapt, they'll start thinking about other things. They'll want to escape, rebel, and steal food. You're keeping them under control with robots now, no problem. But what if the robots malfunction one day? What if someone discovers their weaknesses? She paused. You need a system. A system that lets them manage themselves. Zhao Linyu looked at her. What system? A file system, Lin Ruoxiu said. It records everyone's name, what crime they committed, their sentence length, their special skills, their weaknesses, who they're close to in prison, and who they have grudges against. Write all this down, and you'll know who you can use, who you can't, where to put them, and who to keep an eye on. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Why did you help me? Lin Ruoxiu looked at him, her expression calm. Because I want to live. Alive. Outside are zombies, inside are 300 people. You're the only one here who's keeping me alive. She paused, and, you don't just want to be a local tyrant, right? Zhao Linyu remained silent. Lin Ruoxiu continued, if you only want to be a local tyrant, you don't need to keep 300 people. 30 would be enough. Keeping 300 means you want to do something else. Farming? Animal husbandry? Establishing order? Maybe you even want to expand outwards in the future. She looked into Zhao Linyu's eyes. You need help. But not maids who only kneel and call you master. You need people who can work, think, and help you share the burden. Zhao Linyu looked at her and remained silent for a long time. Then he laughed. You are indeed smart. Lin Ruoxiu didn't speak, she just waited. Okay. Zhao Linyu stood up. What do you want? Lin Ruoxiu also stood up. A relatively clean place to stay, enough food. And that's all. She paused. Your trust. Zhao Linyu walked up to her. Lin Ruoxiu was a head shorter than him, and she looked up at him. Trust isn't something you ask for, it's something you earn, Zhao Linyu said. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. I know. So I'll prove it to you. Zhao Linyu looked at her. This face is beautiful. Not the flamboyant kind, but the kind that grows on you. The more you look, the more captivating it becomes. Her eyes are bright, her gaze steady. You can tell at a glance that she's confident and capable. Starting tomorrow, you will be my secretary, Zhao Linyu said. You will be responsible for population statistics and creating files. If you need any equipment, just ask Xiaoqi. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. Yes, master. Zhao Linyu turned and walked back. He walked up to the control panel and suddenly stopped. Oh, right. He turned to look at Lin Ruoxiu. Where are you staying tonight? Lin Ruoxiu was taken aback. Dormitory. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. It's too noisy over there. Besides, you're a secretary now, so you have to be on call at any time. He pointed to a door next to him. There's an empty room over there. It used to be used for storing junk. If you tidy it up, someone could live in it. Lin Ruoxiu looked at the door, then at Zhao Linyu. Thank you, master. Zhao Linyu nodded, sat back in his chair, and began watching the surveillance footage. Lin Ruoxiu stood still for a few seconds, then walked towards the door. The door opened, revealing a small room, about 10 square meters in size. It was filled with miscellaneous items and covered in dust. She glanced back at Zhao Linyu's retreating figure. He stood with his back to her, motionless, like a statue. Lin Ruoxiu gritted her teeth and began tidying up the room. An hour later, the room was ready. The clutter was cleared away, the floor was swept, the table was wiped, and clean sheets were laid on the bed. Although it was simple, at least it was habitable. Lin Ruoxiu sat on the edge of the bed, lost in thought for a while. Then she stood up and walked out of the room. Zhao Linyu was still sitting at the control panel, staring at the screen. Lin Ruoxiu walked up behind him and stopped. Owner. Zhao Linyu didn't turn around. Explain. The room is ready. Thank you. Lin Ruoxiu stood still, not moving. Zhao Linyu finally turned around and looked at her. Is there anything else? Lin Ruoxiu looked at him and remained silent for a few seconds. I have a question for you. Ask. Why did you keep me here? Zhao Linyu looked at her. Because you were the first person to take the initiative to come to me. Lin Ruoxiu was taken aback. Su Xiaotang was lucky, I just happened to see her. Shen Lingshuang is a troublemaker, I want to see how long she can hold out. Only you've made it all on your own. He paused. Proactive people are more reliable than passive people. Lin Ruoxiu fell silent. Zhao Linyu turned back and continued watching the surveillance footage. Go back and rest. Work starts tomorrow morning at 7. Lin Ruoxiu stood still. Zhao Linyu turned back to look at her again. Is there anything else? Lin Ruoxiu took a deep breath. Master, may I ask one more question? Zhao Linyu looked at her without saying a word. Lin Ruoxiu met his gaze and asked, are you really just too lonely? Zhao Linyu's expression changed. Did Zhaoqi tell you that? Lin Ruoxiu shook her head. I guessed. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Why do you guess that? Because you could easily be alone, yet you made us live next door. Because you could easily eat by yourself, yet you made us serve you. Because you clearly didn't need maids, yet you kept 10. She paused. Because the way you look at Shen Lingshuang isn't just looking at a troublemaker. You're waiting for her to back down. You want to see what she'll be like after she does. Zhao Linyu remained silent. Lin Ruoxiu continued, you're not a bad person. What you did, someone else might have done 10 times worse. But you're not a saint either. You just want someone to keep you company. Zhao Linyu looked at her with a complicated expression. You know too much. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. I know. That's why I wanted to ask you. She took a step forward. Can I stay with you? Zhao Linyu was stunned. Lin Ruoxiu stood in front of him, very close. Her eyes were bright, and her expression was calm, but Zhao Linyu could tell that her heart was beating very fast. Do you know what you're saying? Zhao Linyu's voice was a little hoarse. I know, Lin Ruoxiu said. I've thought it through. What do you want to figure out? Think clearly about who you are, what I want, and what I can give you. Zhao Linyu looked at her. What do you want? Living, Lin Ruoxiu said. Living well. Not just living with food and a place to sleep, but living with someone who cares. She paused. And you? What do you want? Zhao Linyu remained silent. Lin Ruoxiu waited a few seconds, then slowly reached out and took his hand. His hands were cold. Master, she said softly, you don't have to carry this alone. Zhao Linyu looked at her hands, and into her eyes. Then he took her hand in return. It's very tight. He pulled Lin Ruoxiu into his arms. The lights in the monitoring center went out. Only the surveillance footage on the screen continued to flicker, emitting a faint glow. Lin Ruoxiu was picked up by Zhao Linyu and carried into the small room that had just been tidied up. The door closed behind me. The room was dark, with only a little light seeping in through the crack in the door. She was placed on the bed. The bed was hard, but she didn't care. Zhao Linyu pressed down and kissed her. His kiss was forceful, as if confirming something. Lin Ruoxiu responded, her hands climbing up his back. The clothes fell to the ground one by one. In the darkness, we couldn't see each other's expressions, we could only feel each other's breath, temperature, and heartbeats. Lin Ruoxiu bit her lip, trying not to make a sound. But she couldn't help it, she still let out a muffled groan. Pain. But there's something else too. Zhao Linyu paused for a moment. First. Lin Ruoxiu nodded, then remembered that he couldn't see in the darkness. Zhao Linyu was silent for a second. Why didn't you say so sooner? Lin Ruoxiu didn't answer, she just hugged him tighter. Continue. Zhao Linyu didn't move. Master, Lin Ruoxiu said softly, continue. Zhao Linyu lowered his head and kissed her forehead. Then he continued. This time, she was much gentler. Lin Ruoxiu closed her eyes, feeling his warmth, his breath, and his heartbeat. She didn't know if she had done the right thing, but she knew that from this moment on, she was no longer the female prisoner who had been hung up for 4 days. She is his woman. Afterwards, the two lay side by side on the narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet, with only the sound of each other breathing. Lin Ruoxiu spoke first. Owner, are you still lonely? Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Then he turned to the side and pulled her into his arms. Shut up and go to sleep. Lin Ruoxiu smiled and buried her face in his chest. She could hear his heartbeat. Soon. As fast as her. The next morning at 6 o'clock. Little Yuan floated into the monitoring center right on time. Time to wake up. Then it froze. There was no one in front of the control panel. There was no one in Zhao Linyu's bedroom. The little circle floated to the door of the small room, and the scanner light flashed. Host. The door opened. Zhao Linyu came out, his hair disheveled, wearing a vest and shorts. Don't make a sound. The little circle floated behind him, and the scanning light swept across the room. There was a person lying on the bed. Lin Ruoxiu. She was covered with a blanket, her shoulders exposed. Data updating? Zhao Linyu turned around and glared at it. Little round floated away. Zhao Linyu walked to the control panel, sat down, and began watching the surveillance footage. After a while, Lin Ruoxiu came out of the room. She was dressed and her hair was neatly combed, but she still walked a little awkwardly. She walked up behind Zhao Linyu and stopped. Good morning, master. Zhao Linyu didn't turn around. Breakfast is on the table. Lin Ruoxiu turned her head and saw a plate on the table, millet porridge, 2 boiled eggs, pickled vegetables, and steamed buns. She paused for a moment, stunned. Did you make this call? What else? Let them see you come out of my room. Lin Ruoxiu fell silent. She walked to the table, sat down, and began to eat. Zhao Linyu turned his back to her and continued watching the surveillance footage. After taking a few bites, Lin Ruoxiu suddenly said, Master. Thanks. Zhao Linyu remained silent. Lin Ruoxiu lowered her head and continued eating, but the corners of her mouth turned up slightly. 7 o'clock sharp. 10 people gathered at the monitoring center. Su Xiaotang stood in the crowd, looking at Lin Ruoxiu, and felt that something was not right. Sister Ruoxiu, why is your face so red? Lin Ruoxiu touched her face. Hot. It's hot? Isn't the monitoring center quite cool? Lin Ruoxiu ignored her. Shen Lingshuang stood in the corner, looking at Lin Ruoxiu, then at Zhao Linyu, her expression complex. Zhao Linyu stood up and walked over to them. Starting today, Lin Ruoxiu will be my secretary. She will be responsible for population statistics and creating files. Everyone else, go about your business. Su Xiaotang was stunned. Secretary? Sister Ruoxiu? Why should I? Zhao Linyu glanced at her. Su Xiaotang quickly shut her mouth. Shen Lingshuang didn't speak, she just looked at Lin Ruoxiu. Lin Ruoxiu met her gaze without looking away. Zhao Linyu continued, Xiaoqi will bring up the file system. Lin Ruoxiu, you'll be in charge of data entry. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. Yes, master. Zhao Linyu turned and walked out. He reached the doorway and suddenly stopped. Oh, right. He turned and glanced at Lin Ruoxiu. No need to work night shifts. Lin Ruoxiu paused for a moment, then nodded. Yes, master. The door closed. The room fell silent. Su Xiaotang leaned closer to Lin Ruoxiu and whispered, Sister Ruoxiu, what does it mean that we don't have to work the night shift? Lin Ruoxiu did not answer. Shen Lingshuang looked at Lin Ruoxiu, remained silent for a few seconds, then turned and left. Lin Ruoxiu stood still and took a deep breath. Then she went to the control panel and started working. When news of the perimeter cleanup team being attacked by a small group of zombies reached the monitoring center, Zhao Linyu was eating. Lin Ruoxiu stood behind him, serving him soup. Host, an anomaly has occurred in peripheral area B. Zhao Linyu put down his chopsticks and pulled up the surveillance footage. In the footage, 7 or 8 female prisoners are clearing debris near the outer trenches. Each of them holds a long pole to clear away the mess, a method devised by Zhao Linyu to prevent them from directly contacting the dangerous area. Everything seems normal. Then a swaying figure appeared at the edge of the screen. Zhao Linyu narrowed his eyes. Another one. The third one. Zioki, zoom in on the east side of area B. Zoom in on the image. 5 zombies emerged from the ruins in the distance. Their movements were stiff, but their direction was clear, towards the group of female prisoners. Oh shit. Zhao Linyu stood up. Lin Ruoxiu saw it too, and her expression changed. Master, should we send in a robot? It's too late. Zhao Linyu stared at the screen. The robots will be there at least 3 minutes from now. They're less than 50 meters from the zombies. On screen, the group of female prisoners finally noticed something was wrong. Screams erupted. Some dropped their poles and ran, some collapsed to the ground in shock, and some cried out as they backed away. In the chaos, a figure rushed forward a few steps. Zhao Linyu was taken aback. That's Su Xiaotang. She didn't run away. She rushed to the front, picked up the long pole that someone had thrown down, and then, jump up. Her movements were astonishingly fast. She stepped onto an abandoned oil drum, used the momentum to leap up, grabbed the edge of a nearby abandoned guard post with both hands, and climbed up. That was a guard post that was over 2 meters high. She stood on top, began waving the long pole, and shouted loudly, Come on, chase me. This way. The zombies were drawn to her and staggered toward her. All 5 zombies headed towards the guard post. Su Xiaotang leaped around on top of the guard post like a nimble monkey. She shouted as she jumped, making sure all the zombies' attention was on her. The group of female prisoners took the opportunity to run towards the safe zone. Zhao Linyu stared intently at the screen, his eyes unblinking. This silly girl. Lin Ruoxiu watched as well, her hand gripping the soup spoon tightly. The zombies swarmed around the guard post, reaching up to grab it. The walls of the guard post were slippery, so they couldn't climb up, but they kept dangling at the bottom. Su Xiaotang stood on top and looked down. Then she jumped. She didn't jump down, she jumped onto another abandoned facility nearby. She easily leaped over the 2-meter distance. The zombies staggered after them. She jumped again. Jump again. Like a dancing sprite on the rooftop, she led the horde of zombies in circles. 3 minutes later, the robot arrived. The high-pressure water cannon scattered the zombies, and the electric stun gun finished them off one by one. The 5 zombies quickly collapsed to the ground, motionless. Su Xiaotang stood atop a shipping container, panting heavily as she looked at the fallen zombies. Then she plopped down on her bottom, almost sliding off. Zhao Linyu breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Ruoxiu also breathed a sigh of relief. Master, she's all right. Zhao Linyu didn't speak, but just stared at the figure sitting on top of the container on the screen. Su Xiaotang sat for a while, then stood up and walked along the edge of the container. Her movements were still nimble, but her legs were visibly trembling. She jumped down, landed on the ground, staggered for a moment, and then steadied herself. Then she walked back. When she reached the safe zone, the group of female prisoners she had rescued surrounded her. Someone is crying. Someone expressed their gratitude. Someone was holding her hand and wouldn't let go. Su Xiaotang stood in the crowd with an expression that said it's no big deal, but Zhao Linyu could see that her eyes were shining. Lin Ruoxiu said softly, she's different now. Zhao Linyu nodded. Xiaoqi, host. Are there any canned braised pork left in the warehouse? Available 237 cans in stock. Take out a can. Have someone deliver it to her. When Su Xiaotang returned to her dormitory, it was already dark. She took a shower, changed her clothes, and lay on the bed, lost in thought. The day's events kept replaying in her mind, the zombies, the guard post, the group of people thanking her. The door opened. A girl walked in, holding something in her hand. Su Xiaotang, this is what my master asked me to give you. She placed the things beside Su Xiaotang's bed, then turned and left. Su Xiaotang looked down. A can of food. Braised pork in cans. She was stunned. This is. Lin Ruoxiu walked over from the side, glanced at it, and then smiled. A reward for you. Su Xiaotang looked at the canned food, and her eyes suddenly stung with tears. She quickly lowered her head, pretending to examine the canned food packaging. Lin Ruoxiu didn't say anything and walked away. Su Xiaotang sat alone on the edge of the bed, looking at the can of food. Tears fell. She wiped it off with the back of her hand. It fell again. Wipe it off again. Finally, she stopped wiping and just let the tears flow. She recalled her days in prison, the times she resisted the guards, the nights she spent in solitary confinement, and the name Su Xiaotang marked as a person of high concern in her file. Nobody thought she was useful. Nobody thought she was capable of anything. She's a troublemaker, a nuisance, the kind of person who's bound to cause trouble sooner or later. But now, someone brought her canned food. Because I thought she was useful. Because I think she did the right thing today. Su Xiaotang hugged the can of food to her arms and cried like a child. The next morning, Su Xiaotang appeared at the entrance of the monitoring center. She changed into clean clothes, her hair was neatly combed, her eyes were still a little red, but she looked to be in good spirits. Zhao Linyu was eating breakfast when he saw her come in and was taken aback. What's up? Su Xiaotang walked up to him and took a deep breath. Thank you for the canned food, master. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Just for this. Su Xiaotang nodded, then shook her head. And, I wanted to say, from now on, I'll do anything you ask me to do. Really, anything. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. You did a good job yesterday. Su Xiaotang's eyes stung again. She quickly held back her tears and nodded vigorously. Yes, I will keep trying. Zhao Linyu nodded. All right, get back to work. Su Xiaotang turned to leave, but stopped at the door and looked back at him. Owner, that canned food, it was especially delicious. After saying that, she ran away. Zhao Linyu stared at her retreating figure, paused for a moment, and then shook his head. Lin Ruoxiu chuckled softly beside her. She seems to like you a lot. Zhao Linyu didn't say anything and continued eating his breakfast. In the following days, Su Xiaotang seemed like a completely different person. She's incredibly proactive at work. She always volunteers for any task assigned to her. While others are resting, she's still busy. Xiao Yuan says the number of times she failed a test has decreased from 7 or 8 times a day to 1 or 2, and sometimes not even once. Su Xiaotang herself didn't know why she was so motivated. All she knew was that every time she passed by the monitoring center and saw that figure inside, she felt a warmth in her heart. The man gave her a can of braised pork. That person said she did a good job. That person made her feel useful. On the evening of the 5th day, Su Xiaotang lay on her dormitory bed, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. She kept thinking about one thing: how could she make her master more satisfied? She's been working very hard. Xiao Yuan even said she's made great progress. But I still feel like something's missing. She thought of Lin Ruoxiu. Since that day, Lin Ruoxiu had moved to the room next to the monitoring center. She didn't have to work night shifts. During the day, she stood behind her master, serving him soup and handing him things. Su Xiaotang wasn't stupid. She knew what this meant. She rolled over and looked at the ceiling. Can I do it? She asked herself softly. Then she sat up. Give it a try. She put on her clothes, pushed open the door, and walked towards the monitoring center. In the monitoring center, Zhao Linyu was watching the surveillance footage. The door opened. He turned around and saw Su Xiaotang standing in the doorway. What's up? Su Xiaotang walked in and stood in front of him. Her face was a little red, but her eyes were bright. Master, I have something to tell you. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Explain. Su Xiaotang took a deep breath. I also want to be like Sister Ruoxiu. Zhao Linyu was taken aback. Which way? Su Xiaotang's face turned even redder, but she didn't avoid his gaze. That's, like that? Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Do you know what you're saying? Su Xiaotang nodded. No. Why? Su Xiaotang thought for a moment, then said, because you brought me canned food. Zhao Linyu was taken aback. Because of a can of food. Su Xiaotang shook her head. It's not because of the canned food. It's because, you saw me. She took a step forward. Back in prison, nobody saw me. I was a troublemaker, a nuisance. Everyone thought I'd get into trouble sooner or later. I thought so too. Another step has been taken. But you saw me that day. You saw what I did. You thought I did a good job. She stood in front of Zhao Linyu, looking up at him. I've never been looked at like that before. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Su Xiaotang's eyes were bright, her face was flushed, and her heart was pounding. But she stood firm and did not back down. So I think. She paused. I want to be closer to you. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a long time. Then he stood up. Su Xiaotang took a step back, but then stopped. Zhao Linyu walked up to her and looked down at her. You don't regret it. Su Xiaotang shook her head. No regrets. Zhao Linyu looked at her, looking into her eyes. Then he reached out and patted her head. Su Xiaotang was stunned. At that moment, she almost burst into tears again. Follow me? Zhao Linyu turned and walked towards the small room. Su Xiaotang paused for a moment, then followed. The door closed. The room was dark, with only a little light seeping in through the crack in the door. Su Xiaotang stood there, a little nervous. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Afraid. Su Xiaotang shook her head, but her legs were trembling. Zhao Linyu smiled. What's there to be afraid of shaking? Su Xiaotang gritted her teeth. That was excitement. Zhao Linyu didn't speak, he just looked at her. Su Xiaotang took a deep breath, then took a step forward and hugged him. Zhao Linyu was taken aback. Su Xiaotang buried her face in his chest and said sullenly, I don't care. I'm not leaving today. Zhao Linyu was silent for a second. Then he picked her up and put her on the bed. This time, it's different from the last time. Unlike Lin Ruoxiu, Su Xiaotang was not quiet. She was so nervous that she kept trembling, but she refused to show it, biting her lip to hold it in. Zhao Linyu kissed her forehead. Take it easy. Su Xiaotang nodded, but she was still very nervous. She let out a muffled groan, and tears immediately streamed down her face. Pain. Zhao Linyu stopped. Should we stop? Su Xiaotang shook her head and hugged him even tighter. No, don't stop. Between sobs, she said, I'm just a little excited. Looking at her tear-streaked face, Zhao Linyu suddenly felt a pang of heartache. He lowered his head and kissed away her tears. Su Xiaotang was stunned. Then she cried even harder. Ugh, master, what are you doing? Don't cry. I can't help it. Zhao Linyu didn't say anything, he just continued to kiss away her tears. Su Xiaotang gradually calmed down. She looked at the face so close to hers, into his eyes, into his lips. Then she reached out, cupped his face in her hands, and kissed him. Clumsy, awkward, but very forceful. Zhao Linyu paused for a moment, then responded to her. Only the sound of breathing remained in the room. Afterwards, Su Xiaotang nestled in Zhao Linyu's arms, motionless. Zhao Linyu looked down at her. Asleep. Su Xiaotang shook her head. No, I was just thinking. What are you thinking about? Su Xiaotang remained silent for a few seconds. How could I be so silly? Zhao Linyu was taken aback. Stupid. Su Xiaotang looked up at him. If I had come earlier, would I have been eating canned food already? Zhao Linyu looked at her serious face and couldn't help but smile. Su Xiaotang smiled too. Then she snuggled back into his arms. Owner, can I continue like this forever? Zhao Linyu remained silent. Su Xiaotang waited a few seconds, but didn't receive a reply. She looked up a little nervously. Zhao Linyu looked at her. If you want to. Su Xiaotang's eyes lit up again. She nodded vigorously. I want to. I really want to. Then she snuggled back into his arms, rubbing against him like a kitten. Zhao Linyu looked down at her and remained silent for a few seconds. Then he tightened his arms a little. The next morning, little Yuan floated into the monitoring center right on time. Time to wake up. Then it froze. There was no one in front of the control panel. There was no one in Zhao Linyu's bedroom. At the door of Lin Ruoxiu's room, at the door of the small room. The little circle floated to the door of that small room, and the scanning light flashed. The door opened. Zhao Linyu came out, his hair disheveled, wearing a vest and shorts. Don't make a sound. Xiao Yuan glanced around the room. There was a person lying on the bed. Xiao Tang. She was covered with a blanket, her shoulders were exposed, and she had a smile on her face. Data updating? Zhao Linyu glared at it. Little round floated away. Zhao Linyu walked to the control panel, sat down, and began watching the surveillance footage. After a while, Lin Ruoxiu came out of her room. She saw Zhao Linyu and nodded. Good morning, master. Zhao Linyu nodded. Lin Ruoxiu glanced in the direction of that small room, then looked at Zhao Linyu. They didn't say anything. After a while, Xiao Tang came out of the room. She walked a little unnaturally, but her face was full of smiles. When she saw Lin Ruoxiu, she froze for a moment, and her face flushed instantly. If, Sister Ruoxiu. Lin Ruoxiu looked at her and smiled. Breakfast is on the table. Eat up. Xiao Tang nodded blankly and walked to the table to sit down. On the table were plates of millet porridge, 2 boiled eggs, pickled vegetables, and steamed buns. She picked up the egg and began to peel it. As I peeled it, I suddenly laughed. Lin Ruoxiu walked over and sat down next to her. What are you laughing at? Xiao Tang looked at her and whispered, Sister Ruoxiu, do you think master is this kind to everyone? Lin Ruoxiu thought for a moment. Maybe. Xiao Tang continued peeling the eggs. Would he be this nice to other people too? Lin Ruoxiu was silent for a second. What do you want to say? Xiao Tang looked at her, her eyes bright. I think we need to keep a close eye on him. Lin Ruoxiu paused for a moment, then smiled. Okay, you look in front, I'll look behind. Xiao Tang nodded vigorously. Make a deal. The two women exchanged a smile. Not far away, Zhao Linyu stood with his back to them, staring at the monitor screen. But the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned. Shen Lingshuang's patience ran out on the 13th day. In those 13 days, she watched Lin Ruoxiu transform from a maid into a secretary, and then, after that night, into Zhao Linyu's woman. She watched with her own eyes as that silly girl, Xiao Tang, excitedly skipped into that little room because of a can of food. When she came out the next day, she was unsteady on her feet, but her face was beaming as if she had found a treasure. And what about her? She's still the one who washes feet every day. Every day, squat down and put Zhao Linyu's feet into the basin, washing from the instep to the sole, and from between the toes to the heel. The water temperature should be suitable, the pressure moderate, and the time long enough. She did a great job. She was so good that Zhao Linyu never found fault with her. But it was precisely this goodness that made her increasingly unable to stand it. She didn't hate Lin Ruoxiu, nor did she hate Xiao Tang. They had their own paths. Lin Ruoxiu relied on her brains, Xiao Tang relied on her hard work, but what did Shen Lingshuang rely on? Washing people's feet by squatting on the ground? The night of the 13th day, Shen Lingshuang carried the foot-washing water into the monitoring center. Zhao Linyu sat in a chair, watching the monitor. Lin Ruoxiu stood behind him, massaging his shoulders. Xiao Tang squatted beside him, peeling an orange for him. Shen Lingshuang put the basin down and tested the water temperature. Master, the water is ready. Zhao Linyu hummed in agreement and put his feet into the basin. Shen Lingshuang squatted down and began to wash. The same process, instep, arch, between toes, heel. She washed very carefully, thinking about things as she did so. After washing, she stood up and picked up a towel. Wipe your feet. Instep, arch, between toes, heel. After wiping, she picked up the basin and prepared to leave, etc. Zhao Linyu's voice came from behind. Shen Lingshuang stopped and turned to look at him. Zhao Linyu looked at her and remained silent for a second. You haven't said much today. Shen Lingshuang was taken aback. There's nothing to say. Zhao Linyu nodded. Get out. Shen Lingshuang carried the basin outside. The door closed. She stood in the corridor, holding the basin of water for washing her feet, looking at the murky surface of the water. Her face was reflected in the water. That once proud, defiant face. Now she looks like a servant girl. She gritted her teeth, poured out the water, and put the basin back in its place. Then she stood in front of the mirror and looked at herself. It's still the same face. It's still the same figure. It's still Shen Lingshuang, who once led a group to storm the reserve warehouse. Why is she only allowed to wash feet? The next evening, Shen Lingshuang was not wearing a maid's uniform. She wore a thin shirt, with the top 2 buttons undone. She wore a short skirt, at least 10 centimeters shorter than usual. She looked at herself in the mirror, then pulled her shirt down further, revealing more of her collarbone. I took a deep breath, pushed open the door, and walked into the monitoring center. Zhao Linyu was sitting at the control panel, with his back to her. Lin Ruoxiu is not here. Xiao Tang is not here. He was all alone. Shen Lingshuang's heart skipped a beat. Owner. Zhao Linyu turned around. He was taken aback when he saw her attire. Shen Lingshuang walked up to him and stopped. Master, I'd like to speak with you alone tonight. Zhao Linyu looked at her without saying a word. Shen Lingshuang waited a few seconds, and seeing that he didn't respond, she gritted her teeth and took a step forward. Master, what do you think of me? Zhao Linyu raised an eyebrow. What's wrong? Me, Shen Lingshuang said. My face, my figure, my everything. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. What do you want to say? Shen Lingshuang took a deep breath, then reached out and began to unbutton her shirt. 1, 2, 3. The shirt was open, revealing the body underneath. She has a great figure. It's the result of training in kickboxing. Her lines are smooth, her muscles are firm, and there's not an ounce of excess fat. Zhao Linyu looked at her, his eyes calm. Shen Lingshuang took off her shirt and threw it on the ground. Then came the skirt. The zipper was unzipped, and the skirt slipped down. She stood in front of Zhao Linyu. Master, her voice trembled slightly, but she tried to remain steady. I want to be like them. Zhao Linyu looked at her and remained silent for a long time. As time went on, Shen Lingshuang began to panic. Then Zhao Linyu stood up. He walked up to her and looked down at her. Shen Lingshuang tilted her head back, meeting his gaze. Her heart was pounding, but she tried her best to remain calm. Zhao Linyu extended his hand. Shen Lingshuang closed her eyes. Then she felt his hand pick up the shirt from the floor and drape it over her shoulders. Shen Lingshuang was stunned. She opened her eyes and looked at Zhao Linyu. Zhao Linyu's expression was calm, but there was something in his eyes that she couldn't understand. Put it on, he said. Shen Lingshuang didn't move. Why? Zhao Linyu looked at her. You think I don't know what you're thinking? Shen Lingshuang's expression changed. Zhao Linyu took a step back. You hate me. You've hated me since the day you were tied to the flagpole. For these 13 days, you've washed my feet every day, called me master every day, and worked with your head bowed every day, but you've never truly submitted to me. Shen Lingshuang gritted her teeth and remained silent. Zhao Linyu continued, you didn't come to me dressed like this to be like them. You wanted to get close to me, and then, he paused. Kill me? Shen Lingshuang shuddered. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Am I right? Shen Lingshuang remained silent for a few seconds. Then she smiled. That smile was cold, bitter, and also resigned. Yes, she said, you're right. She took the shirt off her shoulders and threw it on the ground. I just want to kill you. Ever since the day you tied me to the flagpole, I've dreamt about killing you every night. She took a step forward. You made me so sunburnt my skin peel. You made me wet my pants in front of the entire prison. You made me kneel on the ground and kowtow to you. You made me squat and wash your feet every day. Her voice began to tremble. You think I'd submit? You think I'd be like them, moved to tears by a can of food? You think I'd scramble to your bed just because you said well done? She took another step and stood in front of Zhao Linyu. Let me tell you, in my entire life, I, Shen Lingshuang, have never submitted to anyone. Not before, and never will. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Her eyes were bright, filled with hatred, anger, and resentment. But there was also something strange about them, like a sense of relief. So what do you plan to do now? Zhao Linyu asked. Kill me. Shen Lingshuang was taken aback. Then she gave a wry smile. Do you think I can kill you? There are at least 10 of those robots behind you pointing them at me right now. Zhao Linyu remained silent. Shen Lingshuang lowered her head, looking at her naked body. I just want to try, she said, to see if there's a chance. If not, then. She looked up. Then let me show you, I'm not giving in. I have no choice. Zhao Linyu remained silent for a long time. Then he spoke. Xiaoqi, host. Arrest her. 4 cleaners rushed in from outside the door, their robotic arms reaching out towards Shen Lingshuang. Shen Lingshuang didn't struggle. She had known this would happen. She was pinned to the ground, her face pressed against the cold floor. Zhao Linyu squatted down and looked at her. Do you know why I've kept you here until now? Shen Lingshuang remained silent. Because you really do have some ability. And because you really have guts. Out of 300 people in this prison, you're the only one who dares to talk to me like that. He stood up. But assertiveness must be used in the right way. He waved. Take her to the playground. Tie her to the flagpole. Shen Lingshuang closed her eyes. Another flagpole. 7 o'clock the next morning. The playground was packed with people. 300 female prisoners, dressed in prison uniforms, stood in several rows. They didn't know what was happening, but seeing the person tied up in the center of the exercise yard, they all guessed what had happened. Shen Lingshuang was tied to a wooden pole. It wasn't a flagpole, but a temporary wooden pole, over 2 meters tall, standing in the center of the playground. She wasn't wearing any clothes. The shirt and skirt were thrown at her feet, like 2 clumps of trash. The rope started at her ankles and looped upwards, over her calves, knees, thighs, waist, and chest. It was tightly bound, outlining her body's contours perfectly. She lowered her head, her long hair falling loosely, obscuring her face. Zhao Linyu stood on the steps, looking down at the crowd. Did you see everything clearly? No one dared to speak. This person, Shen Lingshuang. Last night, she tried to kill me. A commotion broke out in the crowd. After the commotion subsided, Zhao Linyu continued. She seduced me with her body, trying to get close to me, and then kill me. Because she hated me. He walked down the steps, stood in front of the wooden pole, and stood beside Shen Lingshuang. So today I'll show you all what happens when you disobey. He turned to face the crowd. Now, the parade begins. 2 street cleaners came up, pulled the wooden poles up from the ground, and carried them on their shoulders. The wooden pole was hoisted up, and Shen Lingshuang was tied to it, more than a meter off the ground. The cleaners started moving forward, circling the playground. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. The crowd automatically parted to make way, and everyone stared at the woman on the wooden pole, who was only wearing underwear. Shen Lingshuang had her eyes closed, her hair covering her face. But she could hear those sounds. It's her. Shen Lingshuang. He used to be so arrogant. Serves him right. The cleaner walked very slowly. Every step was steady, as if deliberately making sure everyone could see it clearly. When you walk into a crowded area, some people start spitting. He spat it onto her leg. Shen Lingshuang's leg trembled slightly, but she didn't open her eyes. The second vomit landed on her back. The third spit was onto her hair. More and more. Saliva flew in from all directions, landing on her body, face, and hair. Some hit her, while some landed on the ground. Shen Lingshuang kept her eyes closed and remained motionless. But her nails dug into her flesh. It drew blood. The cleaner continued onward. After completing the first lap, begin the second lap. People started cursing. You BCH. Shameless. You still want to kill your master? Dream on. Shen Lingshuang's lips twitched slightly when she heard the insults. Go ahead and curse. Anyway, it won't cost me anything. After completing the second lap, begin the third lap. People started throwing things. A small stone hit her leg, leaving a red mark. A rotten vegetable leaf landed on her chest, sticking to her skin in a sticky, gooey way. A worn-out shoe, thrown by someone, hit her in the face. Shen Lingshuang finally opened her eyes. She looked at the people who were throwing things, examining each one individually. Those men's hands froze in midair, feeling uneasy under her gaze. Then she smiled. The smile was faint and cold, like mockery, yet also like relief. The cleaner continued onward. After completing the third lap, begin the fourth lap. Shen Lingshuang closed her eyes. She has lost count of how many times she has been spat on, how many words she has been cursed at, and how many things have been thrown at her. All she knew was that from this day forward, she would have no dignity left in this prison. The march lasted for a full 2 hours. Finally, the scavenger carried the wooden pole to the east gate. The door slowly opened. Outside was a wasteland. In the distance, zombies roamed, emitting low growls. Zhao Linyu stood at the door, looking at her. Shen Lingshuang was put down. The rope was untied, and she fell to the ground. Her legs gave way, and she knelt down. She knelt there, covered in saliva, rotten vegetable leaves, and dirt. Her underwear was so dirty that its original color was unrecognizable, her face bore dried traces of saliva, and her hair was tangled with trash that no one knew who had thrown it. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Stand up. Shen Lingshuang slowly stood up. She stood in front of him, naked and barefoot. Zhao Linyu waved to the robot next to him. A prison uniform was thrown on the ground. A grey top, grey pants, and a pair of black canvas shoes. Put it on. Shen Lingshuang looked down at the outfit and remained silent for a few seconds. Then she bent down and began to put it on. She moved very slowly. Her hands and legs were shaking, but she still managed to put it on. Top, pants, shoes. After she finished dressing, she stood there, looking at Zhao Linyu. Zhao Linyu was also looking at her. Their eyes met. Shen Lingshuang's eyes were bright, filled with hatred, resentment, and humiliation, but also something else, like the relief of finally being free. Zhao Linyu spoke first. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Shen Lingshuang remained silent for a few seconds. Then she spoke, her voice hoarse but clear. Zhao Linyu. Zhao Linyu looked at her. A smile tugged at the corners of Shen Lingshuang's lips. You're an idiot. But I don't hate you. Zhao Linyu was taken aback. Shen Lingshuang continued, because you gave me a chance. 13 days. I could have lived a good life like them. It was my own fault for not seizing it. She paused. So, it's not your fault. Zhao Linyu remained silent. Shen Lingshuang took a deep breath, turned around and walked towards the door. After taking 2 steps, she suddenly stopped and turned to look at him. Zhao Linyu. If I come back alive. She paused. Will you take me in? Zhao Linyu looked at her and remained silent for a long time. Then he nodded. Meeting. Shen Lingshuang was taken aback. Then she smiled. That smile was radiant, like sunshine. Then I'm leaving. She turned and walked out the door. The door closed slowly behind me. Shen Lingshuang stood outside, looking at the ruins in the distance. The sun had already risen, and its warmth shone on her. She took a deep breath and walked north. There's a small town in that direction. She walked slowly because her legs were still trembling. But she walked steadily, step by step, becoming more and more steady. After walking for about 10 minutes, she heard a sound behind her. Looking back, the gate was already tightly shut. She turned her head and continued walking forward. After walking for another 10 minutes, she saw the first zombie. It was a man dressed in tattered clothes, with his back to her, gnawing on something. Shen Lingshuang slowed her pace and walked around her. The zombies didn't find her. She breathed a sigh of relief and continued walking. After walking for another 5 minutes, she saw the second body, the third one, the fourth one. More and more. She started running. I ran through the ruins, through the collapsed buildings, and through the abandoned vehicles. The town was getting closer. 500 meters to go. 300 meters. 100 meters. Then she heard a roar behind her. She turned around and looked. A dozen or so zombies were charging towards her. Shen Lingshuang's heart clenched. She turned and ran for her life. But my legs had been running for a day and a night and were completely exhausted. 50 meters. 30 meters. 10 meters. She rushed into the town's entrance and looked back. The zombies have caught up. The one at the very front, you could reach out and grab her. Shen Lingshuang suddenly rolled to the side. The zombie missed its target and crashed into a wall. She got up and kept running. I ran through the streets, through the alleys, and past abandoned shops. The howls of the zombies behind us grew closer and closer. She ran into a building and closed the iron gate. The zombies slammed against the door, making a loud BG noise. Shen Lingshuang leaned against the door, panting heavily. The door was shaking. Once, twice, 3 times. It's getting increasingly intense. She turned and ran upstairs. I ran to the 3rd floor, then to the 4th floor, and finally to the rooftop. The rooftop was empty except for a few clotheslines. She stood on the edge of the rooftop, looking down. The area downstairs was already surrounded by zombies. There were at least 20 or 30 of them, their heads tilted back, howling at her. Shen Lingshuang took a step back. There's nowhere to escape. She leaned against the railing, looking at the zombies, and suddenly smiled. Zhao Linyu. She read the name aloud. UBD. Then she looked up at the grey sky. Next life. Before he could finish speaking, the iron gate behind him was kicked open. Shen Lingshuang turned around abruptly. Zombies rushed in. The first body, the second body, the third body. They pounced on her. Shen Lingshuang stepped back, retreating to the railing. Then she climbed over the railing and jumped. Someone saw this from a 3rd-floor window. A survivor hid inside the building, peering out through a crack in the window. She saw a woman in a grey prison uniform jump off the rooftop. I saw her fall into a horde of zombies. She saw the zombies pounce on her and tear at her body. I heard her screams. It's very short. Only a few sounds. And that was it. The survivor closed his eyes, unable to bear watching any longer. All that could be heard outside were the howls of zombies and the sounds of chewing. In prison, Zhao Linyu sat in the monitoring center, looking at the small red dot on the screen. That was Shen Lingshuang's locator. He had someone sew one into her prison uniform. The red dot keeps moving north at a fast speed. Then, the red dot stopped. We stopped at the entrance of that small town. Zhao Linyu stared at the red dot, motionless. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. The red dot remained unchanged. Lin Ruoxiu stood behind him and spoke softly. Owner. Zhao Linyu remained silent. Su Xiaotang stood to the side, her eyes red. Sister Shuang, she. Zhao Linyu stood up and walked to the window. The sun was shining brightly outside. On the playground, the female prisoners were working. Everything was in perfect order. He was looking in that direction. The direction of that small town. There was a long silence. Zhao Linyu stood in the monitoring center, staring at the images on the screen. The cameras in the outer B area captured something unusual. Several figures were moving around at the edge of the ruins. Their movements were not like those of zombies. They were too fast and too purposeful. Zioki, zoom in. Zoom in on the image. 5 men, dressed in camouflage and carrying guns, are observing the direction of the prison. Zhao Linyu's pupils contracted slightly. Can you see the equipment clearly? Analysis underway. 5 automatic rifles, several pistols, suspected hand grenades, and communication equipment. All right. Zhao Linyu interrupted it, his mind racing. Those people outside aren't zombies. They're living people. And they're armed. In this apocalypse, the living are 10,000 times more dangerous than zombies. Lin Ruoxiu, standing behind him, also saw the scene. Owner. I saw it. Su Xiaotang ran in from outside, holding a broom in her hand. Master, there seems to be one outside. No. Zhao Linyu stood up, walked to the window, and looked at the ruins in the distance. The 5 men had disappeared and taken cover behind some bunker, but they will definitely show up again. Zioki, can robots fight? Hostile armed personnel detected. According to the system's core protocol, the scavenger robot must not use lethal force against humans unless the host's life is directly threatened. Zhao Linyu cursed. So, as long as they don't shoot me first, the robots can only watch. This can be understood as follows. Zhao Linyu took a deep breath. Okay, then we won't use the robot. He turned to look at Lin Ruoxiu and Su Xiaotang. Go, gather everyone on the playground. 3 minutes. 3 minutes later, 300 female prisoners stood on the playground, looking at each other in bewilderment. Zhao Linyu stood on the steps, looking at them. There are people outside. 5 of them, and they have guns. A commotion broke out in the crowd. You can probably guess what they'll do. They'll steal food, women, and this prison. He paused. I'm going to lure them in, and then kill them. The crowd quieted down. Some people started to tremble. Some gritted their teeth. Some had shifty eyes. Zhao Linyu continued. Robots can't kill people, so we have to rely on ourselves. Which of you has ever killed someone? No one answered. Zhao Linyu smiled. It's okay. I'll get it today. He walked down the steps and began calling people out of the crowd. You, and all of you, step forward. 20 people were singled out. They were all rather burly looking with fierce-looking eyes. You guys are in charge of the physical work. The rest of you are in charge of the acting. He began assigning tasks. 1 hour later, the prison gates slowly opened. Several female prisoners ran out in a panic, shouting as they ran. Help! Help! It's full of zombies. They ran to the edge of the ruins, stumbling and staggering, as if they were terrified. The 5 people hiding in the shadows finally revealed themselves. The leader was a bald man in his 30s with a scar on his face. He held a gun and stared at the female prisoners. Stop. The female prisoners stopped and raised their hands. The bald man walked over and used the barrel of his gun to lift the chin of a female prisoner. What's going on inside? Zombies, zombies, they're everywhere, we barely managed to escape. The bald man stared at her for a few seconds, then smiled. Okay, lead the way. The female prisoners were being led to the prison. As he reached the door, the bald man stopped and glanced inside. The playground was empty except for a few corpses lying on the ground. Those were zombie corpses that Zhao Linyu had dragged in from outside and deliberately placed there. Where are the people inside? Dead, dead, they were all bitten. The bald man waved his hand. Go in. 5 men, carrying guns, cautiously entered the prison. The door closed slowly behind me. In the monitoring center, Zhao Linyu stared at the screen. 5 people have entered dormitory building A and are searching each room. Are you in position? He asked into the walkie-talkie. You're in position, Lin Ruoxu's voice came through the earpiece. Ready. Zhiaotang's voice came through. Zhao Linyu nodded. Wait until they enter the second floor corridor. Then, he paused. Let's do it. After searching the first floor, the 5 people started going up to the second floor. The corridor was narrow, with dormitory doors on both sides. The bald man walked at the front, his gun pointed ahead. He suddenly stopped in the middle of the corridor. Something's not right. As soon as he finished speaking, the iron gates at both ends of the corridor slammed down simultaneously. Clang! 2 iron gates, one in front and one behind, completely sealed off the corridor. 5 people were trapped in the middle. Damn it! We've fallen for their trap. The bald man rushed to the iron gate and pushed it hard. It didn't budge. Just then, several holes suddenly opened in the ceiling above. Smoke grenades are thrown down. Cough cough cough. Thick smoke instantly filled the entire corridor. Cover your mouth and nose. Back away, but there's nowhere to get a refund. There were iron gates at the front and back, and dormitory doors on both sides, but all of those doors were locked. The smoke grew thicker and thicker. Some people started coughing, some started tearing up, and some started having trouble breathing. The bald man raised his gun and fired a burst at the ceiling. The bullets hit the concrete, sending sparks flying, but it was no use. The smoke continued to pour in. Charge! Break down the door. Several people started BG on the dormitory door. The first door was smashed open. It's empty inside. The second door was smashed open. It's empty too. The third door. The moment the door was kicked open, an iron pipe pierced through it. Pfft! It stabbed the person in the front in the stomach. He screamed and fell backward. Before the remaining people could react, the door next to them opened, and more iron pipes extended out, heading straight for them. The corridor was in complete chaos. The bald man held a gun, intending to fire, but the smoke was too thick, making it impossible to see where anyone was. He could only shoot based on instinct. Bang bang bang. Someone screamed, but it was unclear who had been hit. Then he suddenly felt a pain in his leg. An iron pipe hit his knee, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground. The gun fell to the ground. He reached out to touch it, but a hand was faster and kicked the gun away. Through the smoke, he saw a face. She was young and beautiful, but her eyes were cold. It's the female prisoner who was just at the door. She was holding an iron pipe and looking down at him. You? Before he could finish speaking, the iron pipe came crashing down. It hit him on the head. Everything went black. When the smoke cleared, 5 people were lying haphazardly in the corridor. 2 died. 3 survived, but all were injured. Zhao Linyu walked over from the monitoring center and stood at the entrance of the corridor. He looked at the 3 survivors and remained silent for a few seconds. Then he spoke. Tie them up. Take them to the playground. On the playground, 300 female prisoners formed a circle, looking at the 3 bound men in the center. The bald man woke up to find himself tied to a flagpole, with 2 of his henchmen beside him. He struggled for a moment, but couldn't break free. Zhao Linyu stood in front of him. Who are you people? The bald man stared at him without saying a word. Zhao Linyu nodded. You won't tell, huh? Fine. He turned to face the crowd. Who wants to practice? The crowd fell silent for a second. Then a female prisoner came out. He was in his early 20s, burly and strong, and had previously been imprisoned for intentional assault. She walked up to the bald man and, without saying a word, punched him in the stomach. The bald man groaned and bent over. Will you tell me or not? He gritted his teeth, but still remained silent. Another punch. Another punch. Another punch. Blood began to trickle from the bald man's mouth. He looked up and stared at Zhao Linyu. Do you know who we are? I don't know, Zhao Linyu said, but you can tell me. The bald man laughed. It was a sinister laugh. We're from the Vanguard regiment, over 200 men, our weapons and equipment are 10 times better than yours, they'll be coming for us soon, and then you'll all be dead. After listening, Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Then he asked, where is the Vanguard regiment? The bald man fell silent. Zhao Linyu nodded to the female prisoner. Another punch. Another punch. Another punch. The bald man finally couldn't hold on any longer. At the chemical plant 20 miles to the east. Zhao Linyu nodded. How many people? 230 odd. Weapons. Guns, more than 100, and grenades. After listening, Zhao Linyu turned and walked back. Deal with them. The female prisoner paused for a moment. Handling, processing. Zhao Linyu stopped and turned to look at her. You can't. The female prisoner's face paled, but quickly returned to normal. She gritted her teeth and picked up an iron pipe from the side. She walked up to the bald man. The bald man's eyes widened. You dare. My men will. Bang. The iron pipe hit him on the head. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. The bald man stopped moving. His 2 henchmen began to beg for mercy. Don't kill me, I'll tell you everything. Please, I was captured too. Zhao Linyu glanced at them. It's too late. He turned and walked into the monitoring center. The sound of an iron pipe being smashed came from behind. And screams. Night. Zhao Linyu sat in front of the control panel, looking at the map. The chemical plant was 20 miles to the east. There were more than 230 people and more than 100 guns. He has 300 men, but most of them have never fought a war or killed anyone. Robots can't kill people, they can only serve as support. Fighting head-on is suicide. Lin Ruoxiu stood behind him. Master, what do you plan to do? Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Their people are missing, they'll definitely come looking for them. Then shall we guard this place well? Zhao Linyu shook his head. We can't hold out. They have guns, we only have iron pipes and kitchen knives. Fighting them head-on is suicide. He stood up and walked to the window. We need to bring them in. Like today. Lin Ruoxiu was taken aback. Will they fall for it? Zhao Linyu did not answer. He gazed at the dark night sky outside the window and remained silent for a long time. Meeting. He turned around. Because they are human. Humans are greedy. And when they are greedy, they are easily deceived. He began assigning tasks. Starting tomorrow, everyone go dig traps on the outer perimeter. Dig pits under the playground, set up ambushes in the dormitories, and near the cafeteria. He paused. Put some food there as bait. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. I'll arrange it. She turned to leave. Etc. Zhao Linyu called out to her. Lin Ruoxiu turned around. Zhao Linyu looked at her and remained silent for a second. You did a good job today. Lin Ruoxiu paused for a moment, then smiled. Thank you, master. She went outside. Zhao Linyu turned back and continued looking at the map. Outside, 300 female prisoners were digging pits overnight. There's another tough battle ahead tomorrow. The next day at noon, the scouts have returned. Master, they're here. Zhao Linyu stood in the monitoring center, looking at the screen. On screen, a dozen or so figures are moving towards the prison. They are dressed in various clothes, carrying guns, and moving very cautiously. How many people? 13. They must be the Vanguard. Zhao Linyu nodded. Let them in. The prison gates were open. The 13 people walked to the door and stopped. The leader was a tall, thin man, holding a gun, peering inside. The playground was deserted. The dormitory building was quiet. The cafeteria door was open, and piles of grain could be vaguely seen inside. The tall, thin man waved his hand. 2 men, each carrying a gun, went inside first. There was no movement. 2 more went in. Still no movement. The tall, thin man gritted his teeth and led the rest of the men inside. They walked to the center of the playground. Then suddenly, the ground beneath my feet gave way to emptiness. Boom. The ground collapsed. 5 people fell into the pit. Sharpened wooden sticks were stuck at the bottom of the pit, and screams rang out instantly. The remaining people panicked and began to back away. But it was too late. The dormitory doors opened simultaneously, and dozens of female prisoners rushed out, carrying iron pipes, kitchen knives, and clubs. They surrounded the 8 people. The tall, thin man raised his gun, intending to fire. But as soon as he raised his hand, an iron pipe smashed into his wrist. Crack, the sound of a bone breaking. The gun fell to the ground. He screamed and was tackled to the ground. The others were quickly subdued as well. 8 people, not one of them escaped. Zhao Linyu walked out of the monitoring center, went to the edge of the pit, and looked down. The 5 people in the pit were no longer moving. The wooden sticks were covered in blood. He turned and looked at the 8 people who were being held down on the ground. Are you from the Vanguard regiment? The tall, thin man gritted his teeth and remained silent. Zhao Linyu nodded. It's fine if you don't want to say. There are other people coming later anyway. He waved to the female prisoners. Tie him up. He'll be useful later. 1 hour later, the second group of people arrived. This time there are more than 30. They moved slowly and cautiously, clearly aware that the advance party had encountered trouble. They stopped at the doorway. The leader was a bearded man who was looking inside through binoculars. The playground was still deserted, but the craters in the ground had been covered up, leaving no trace. The bearded man hesitated for a moment. Go in. More than 30 people, carrying guns, slowly walked in. Walked to the center of the playground. This time I didn't fall into the pit. But they had only gone halfway when the dormitory building door opened again. But this time, it wasn't a female prisoner who came out. They were the 8 people who were tied up. They were pushed to the front, with knives held to their necks. The bearded man was stunned. Hold. Don't move. Lin Ruoxiu's voice came from the loudspeaker. Move even once, and they'll die. The bearded man pointed his gun forward, but dared not fire. Those 8 people were his men. Zhao Linyu walked out of the monitoring center and stood on the steps. Put down your guns, or they'll die. The bearded man gritted his teeth and didn't move. Zhao Linyu nodded to the person next to him. The knife was pressed down slightly. The person at the very front started bleeding from their neck. Ah, boss. Help me. The bearded man's expression changed. UFGBD. 3 seconds, Zhao Linyu said. 1, 2. Put down your gun, the bearded man finally shouted. The gun was left on the ground. More than 30 people, more than 30 guns, piled up in one heap. Zhao Linyu waved his hand. The female prisoners rushed forward and pinned the men to the ground. The bearded man was brought before Zhao Linyu. Zhao Linyu looked at him. When will your main force arrive? The bearded man gritted his teeth and remained silent. Zhao Linyu nodded. Okay, tie him up. Hang him on the gate. Night. The bearded man was hung on the gate, his hands and feet bound, like a pig waiting to be slaughtered. The prison was brightly lit. 300 female prisoners, each carrying a weapon. Some were sharpening knives, some were checking traps, and some were loading bullets into their guns. The captured guns had already been distributed. Zhao Linyu stood in the monitoring center, looking at the screen. Xiaoqi, what's the situation outside? A large number of heat sources have been detected, approximately 2 kilometers away, and are moving slowly. How many people? Preliminary estimate, around 150 people. Zhao Linyu took a deep breath. They've arrived? He picked up the walkie-talkie. Attention everyone. The main force is here. Proceed according to plan. 8 p.m. Firelight flickered outside the prison. More than 150 people, carrying torches and guns, surrounded the prison in a semicircle. The leader was a middle-aged man, bald, with a scar running from the corner of his eye to his chin. He was riding a modified motorcycle and holding a machete. Listen up, you people inside. His voice was very loud. I am Scarface Liu, the commander of the Vanguard regiment. You killed more than 20 of my men, now come out and face your deaths. Otherwise, when we storm in, we'll kill all the men and kill the women. The prison was quiet. Scarface Liu waited a few seconds, but there was no response. He waved. Rush. More than 100 people began to rush towards the prison gate. They ran very fast, guns pointed forward, ready to fire at any moment. As they ran towards the door, the first few people suddenly lost their footing. Boom. I've fallen into a pit again. But this time the pit was empty, there were no wooden sticks inserted. Before the men could get up after falling in, several iron pipes suddenly protruded from the pit wall. Pfft. A scream rang out. There's an ambush. Retreat. Retreat quickly. The people behind panicked and started backing away. But their escape route was also blocked. Dozens of people suddenly stood up on the walls on both sides of the prison. They were carrying guns, those captured rifles and pistols. Bang, 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 gunshots rang out. The outermost few people fell to the ground with a thud. Damn it, they have guns. Get cover now. The Vanguard members scattered in panic, some hiding behind trees, some behind rocks, and some lying on the ground, too afraid to move. Scarface Liu rode his motorcycle back several dozen meters and hid behind an abandoned guard post. He poked his head out and looked into the prison. The playground was deserted. All the dormitory windows were dark. Only screams could still be heard coming from the ditch at the main entrance. Damn, he cursed. These women are FG tough. A minor leader nearby sidled up. Brother Liu, what do we do? They have guns and traps. Scarface Liu remained silent for a few seconds. No rush, he said. They're outnumbered and have limited ammunition. Let's hold them off. He waved. Spread out, surround them. Don't charge, just surround them. Let's see how long they can hold out. In prison, Zhao Linyu stood in the monitoring center, watching the images on the screen. The Vanguard did not continue their charge, instead, they dispersed and surrounded the prison. Quite clever, he muttered to himself. Lin Ruoxiu stood behind him. Master, what are they waiting for? Wait until we run out of bullets. Wait until we're hungry. Wait until we can't hold on any longer and go out on our own. Lin Ruoxiu frowned. Then what do we do? Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Make them wait. He picked up the walkie-talkie. Attention everyone. Don't fire. Conserve your ammunition. Wait until they can't hold back anymore before you fire. Several received came through the walkie-talkie. Zhao Linyu put down the walkie-talkie and continued looking at the screen. In the footage, Scarface Liu is seen hiding behind a guard post, smoking. Go ahead and smoke, Zhao Linyu said. You'll regret it later. An hour has passed. 2 hours have passed. 3 hours have passed. The Vanguard group surrounded the prison, remaining motionless. The people in the prison didn't move either. The two sides remained deadlocked. Scarface Liu finished his cigarette. He started to get irritated. Damn, these women are really good at enduring things. The henchman next to him said, Brother Liu, how about we charge again? They outnumber us anyway. What are you rushing for? Scarface Liu glared at him. Didn't you see that pit by the door? One of our men is still lying in there. The underling dared not speak. Scarface Liu gritted his teeth and picked up the walkie-talkie. Second team, go around to the side. See if there's another entrance. Side view of the prison. A group of people cautiously crept over. They carried their guns and walked slowly, testing the ground with each step, afraid of falling into the pit again. After walking about 50 meters, someone suddenly stepped on something soft. He looked down. It's a rope. Not good. Boom. The homemade explosives buried in the ground detonated. The 3 people were thrown to the ground, covered in blood, screaming in agony. The remaining people panicked and turned to run. But they had only run a few steps when several people suddenly stood up on the wall. Bang, 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 gunshots rang out. The 2 people running in the lead fell down. The rest ran back as fast as they could and disappeared into the night. Scarface Liu's expression changed upon hearing the explosion. What happened? A panicked voice came through the walkie-talkie. Brother Liu, they had explosives? They killed 3, and 2 others were shot. Scarface Lu slammed his fist on the guard post. Hold. He took a few deep breaths, forcing himself to calm down. 3 teams, go around from the other side. Walk slowly, look carefully at the ground. On the other side, the 3 teams walked even slower. They shone their flashlights on the ground and moved forward inch by inch. I walked about 30 meters and found nothing. The leader breathed a sigh of relief. Keep going. They walked another 10 meters. Still nothing was found. We're almost there, the wall is just ahead. The words had barely left his mouth when his legs suddenly gave way. It's not a pit, it's silt. He sank in completely. Help, help me. The people behind him tried to pull him out, but as soon as they reached out, they themselves got stuck. Damn, it's a swamp. It's not a swamp. It's a mud pit they dug. 5 people were stuck in a mud pit, struggling desperately, but the more they struggled, the deeper they sank. Several people stood up on the wall beside the pit. They held their guns and looked down at the people in the mud pit. Don't move, one of the female prisoners said. If you move even a little, I'll kill you. The 5 men were too scared to move. The mud had reached my chest. Pull us up. Why should we? The female prisoner laughed. Weren't you just trying to kill us? The mud reached up to my neck. Please, please. The female prisoner waved her hand. Several ropes were thrown down. The 5 people grabbed on desperately and were pulled up. They lay on the edge of the pit, covered in mud, panting heavily. Then they were pinned to the ground and tied up. When Scarface Lu received the news, his face turned pale. All 3 teams wiped out. No, they weren't all wiped out, they were captured. Scarface Lu kicked over the oil drum next to him. Damn it, damn it, damn it. He paced back and forth a few steps, then suddenly stopped. 4th team, 5th team, charge together, charge from the front. I refuse to believe they can stop everyone. Front. More than 80 men, armed with guns, rushed toward the prison gate. This time they were smarter. Instead of staying together, they dispersed and charged from different directions. The people running at the front carefully avoided the ditch. They didn't fall in. They breathed a sigh of relief and continued charging forward. Then, pfft, a tripwire tripped them up. Before I could even get up, gunfire erupted from the wall. Bang, 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 3 people fell. The remaining people lay prone on the ground, too afraid to move. But the people behind them kept pushing forward. More and more people rushed onto the playground. They looked for cover, hiding behind various obstacles, and began firing at the dormitory building. The bullet hit the wall, sending sparks flying. The dormitory building was quiet. Scarface Lu, hiding behind the guard post, shouted into his walkie-talkie, "Charge in, they outnumber us. We're short on ammunition." The Vanguard group began to approach the dormitory building. 50 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters. Then, the dormitory door suddenly opened. Not just one door, but all the doors. There were people standing at each doorway, holding guns. The gun barrel was pointed outwards. Beat. Zhao Linyu's voice came through the loudspeaker. Bang, 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 bang. The gunshots were deafening. The Vanguard members were caught off guard by their sudden opening of fire and had no time to dodge, so they were hit squarely. The first dozen or so people fell. The rest ran back as fast as they could. But as I ran, I stepped on something again. This time it wasn't a trap, it was a landmine. Boom, boom, boom. 3 explosions. 7 or 8 people were blown away. The playground was littered with corpses and wounded soldiers, and screams echoed everywhere. Scarface Liu's eyes turned red. Retreat, retreat now. The remaining dozens of people desperately tried to escape from the prison. When I ran to the door, boom, the last hole finally got used. 5 people fell in and were impaled by wooden sticks. The remaining people bypassed the pit and ran into the night without looking back. The playground fell silent. Zhao Linyu walked out of the monitoring center and stood on the steps. Dozens of corpses lay scattered across the playground. A dozen or so wounded soldiers were groaning in pain. The female prisoners who had been hiding behind the bunker slowly emerged. Some of them were trembling, some were crying, and some were staring blankly at the corpses. Su Xiaotang ran out of the dormitory building, covered in blood, but she didn't appear to be injured. Master, we won. Zhao Linyu nodded. The morning sun shone on the ruins. Zhao Linyu stood at the prison gate, looking at the group of people in the distance. There were more than 20 people, men and women, dressed in haphazard clothes and carrying sticks and machetes. They stopped 50 meters away from the entrance, shoving each other, and finally pushed out a tall, thin man as their representative. The tall, thin man took a few steps forward and raised his hands to indicate that he meant no harm. Brothers, we're from the survivor camp in the north. We'd like to trade with you for some food. Zhao Linyu leaned against the door frame and yawned. What can I trade for it? The tall, thin man turned around and called out. Several people carried in a bag, which, when opened, contained several packets of expired instant noodles and several bottles of mineral water. That's it. The tall, thin man rubbed his hands together. Brother, in this day and age, being able to offer this much is already quite good. Xiaoqi, exist. Close the door. The gate slowly closed. The tall, thin man panicked and rushed forward a few steps. Brother, don't. We can work. We can help you guard the gate. A package was thrown out through the crack in the door. It's a few bags of expired bread. Zhao Linyu's voice came from behind the door. Take it and get out. Next time you come, you will be hit with bullets. The door was completely closed. The tall, thin man stared at the bread on the ground for a few seconds, then quickly picked it up and ran away with his men. Inside the monitoring center, Lin Ruoxiu stood behind Zhao Linyu. Master, are you just going to send them away like that? Zhao Linyu sat down, crossed his legs, and said, what else? Invite them in for dinner. But what if they go back and call for help? Call for backup. Zhao Linyu laughed. Those few cowards, what kind of people could they possibly call? If they were really capable, they would have already charged in. Why would they want to trade with us? Lin Ruoxiu thought for a moment and nodded. Just then, Xiaoqi's ball of light floated in front of Zhao Linyu. Host has established initial order, Phase 2 mission unlocked. Zhao Linyu was taken aback, the second stage. Mission, establish armed forces. Mission rewards, 1 enhanced host's physical functions, strength plus 200%, speed plus 150%, neural reaction plus 300%. 2 unlocked prison perimeter automated defense system, electric fence, and automatic sentry machine gun. Zhao Linyu stared at that line of text for 3 seconds. Then he stood up and walked to the window. On the playground, 300 female prisoners were working. Some were planting vegetables, some were cleaning, and some were carrying supplies. They wore the same prison uniforms, their movements were numb, and their eyes were empty. Xiaoqi, exist. How long will it take to turn them into warriors? According to system calculations, at least 3 months of system training are required. However, the host can choose a more efficient method, a brutal selection process. Zhao Linyu remained silent. Lin Ruoxiu walked to his side and also looked out the window at the people. Master, are you really going to send them to war? Zhao Linyu turned to look at her. What do you think they are now? Lin Ruoxiu was taken aback. They're prisoners, Zhao Linyu said. They have food to eat, a place to sleep, and they work every day, waiting for the next day. What's the difference between them and pig farmers? He turned back to look out the window. Raising pigs can only provide temporary relief. To survive, you have to raise wolves. Lin Ruoxiu fell silent. Outside the window, a woman in the crowd looked up and glanced in the direction of the monitoring center. She was very beautiful and glamorous, with an aura that set her apart from her surroundings. She squinted, staring at the camera, a slight smile playing on her lips. Several women nearby subtly moved closer to her. Zhao Linyu saw it. Who is that woman? Lin Ruoxiu flipped through the list in her hand. Han Fei, 30 years old, used to be a gangster, sentenced to 12 years for organizing prostitution and intentional assault. Before coming here, she had dozens of people under her command. Zhao Linyu nodded. Interesting. Lin Ruoxiu put away the list and walked to Zhao Linyu's side. Master, breakfast is ready. Zhao Linyu hummed in agreement and turned to walk into the monitoring center. His room wasn't big, it contained a bed, a table, and a chair. Several maps hung on the wall, and various documents were piled on the table. Lin Ruoxiu followed him inside and closed the door behind her. On the table were plates of millet porridge, 2 boiled eggs, pickled vegetables, and steamed buns. Zhao Linyu sat down and picked up his chopsticks. Lin Ruoxiu stood behind him, without moving. What are you standing there for? Zhao Linyu asked without turning his head. Come here. Lin Ruoxiu walked to his side. Zhao Linyu pointed to the chair next to him. Sit. Lin Ruoxiu sat down. Zhao Linyu continued eating. He ate quickly, but his movements were steady and measured, 1 bite at a time. Lin Ruoxiu looked at him without saying a word. After Zhao Linyu finished eating 1 egg, he picked up the second one and suddenly stopped. You haven't said much today. Lin Ruoxiu was taken aback. What are you thinking about? Lin Ruoxiu was silent for 2 seconds, then said, I was thinking about what Master just said. Which sentence? The saying about raising pigs and raising wolves. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Lin Ruoxiu continued, the Master is right. Making them only work and not think is indeed like raising pigs. But if we want to turn them into wolves. She paused. How does the Master plan to tame it? Zhao Linyu didn't answer and continued peeling the eggs. After finishing breakfast, he stood up and walked to the window. Lin Ruoxiu stood up and began clearing away the dishes. Ruoxiu. Lin Ruoxiu stopped. Zhao Linyu had his back to her, looking out the window. Come over. Lin Ruoxiu put down her chopsticks and walked to his side. Zhao Linyu turned around and looked at her. Lin Ruoxiu was dressed in a maid's uniform, her hair neatly tied up, and her face clean. Her eyes were bright, and she always looked at him calmly, but Zhao Linyu knew how much was hidden behind those eyes. How long have you been following me? Lin Ruoxiu thought for a moment. A little over a month. More than a month. Zhao Linyu repeated, have you ever regretted it? Lin Ruoxiu shook her head. Never. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Lin Ruoxiu met his gaze without looking away. Why? Lin Ruoxiu thought for a moment, then said, because my master allowed me to live. Not just to live, but to live with dignity. Zhao Linyu was taken aback. Dignity. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. Outside, I'm a prisoner, just a number, trash anyone can step on. Here, I'm Lin Ruoxiu, the master's woman, someone no one dares to mess with. She took a step forward and stood in front of Zhao Linyu. That's enough. Zhao Linyu looked at her and remained silent for a few seconds. Then he reached out, put his arm around her waist, and pulled her into his embrace. Lin Ruoxiu leaned against his chest and closed her eyes. Zhao Linyu lowered his head and kissed her forehead. Go lock the door. Lin Ruoxiu got out of his arms, walked to the door, and locked it. Then she walked back and stood in front of Zhao Linyu. Zhao Linyu sat on the edge of the bed, looking at her. Lin Ruoxiu began to undress. Her movements were slow and steady, unbuttoning one button at a time. He took off his uniform and threw it on the chair. Then there's the inside. She stood in front of Zhao Linyu, wearing only her underwear. Zhao Linyu looked at her. Come over. Lin Ruoxiu walked over and sat on his lap. Zhao Linyu placed his hand on her waist and could feel her warmth. Master, Lin Ruoxiu's voice was soft, how would you like to come today? Zhao Linyu didn't say anything, he just pushed her down onto the bed. The curtains were drawn, and the room was dimly lit. There was only the sound of two people breathing. Lin Ruoxiu lay on the bed, looking at Zhao Linyu leaning over her. His face was very close to hers, she could see the bloodshot in his eyes and smell his scent. Master must be very tired lately. She reached out and touched his face. Zhao Linyu took her hand and placed it beside the pillow. Don't speak. Lin Ruoxiu smiled. Then Zhao Linyu kissed him. Only breathing and occasional low moans remained in the room. Lin Ruoxiu closed her eyes, feeling the weight and warmth of the man on top of her. She had known him for over a month, and from the day she first gave herself to him, she knew that she would never think of another man in her life. It's not love. It's something more complex than love. It is trust, it is dependence, it is the sense of security of completely entrusting yourself to someone. Afterwards, the two lay side by side on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Lin Ruoxiu turned to her side and rested her head on Zhao Linyu's shoulder. Owner. What are you going to do with Han Fei? Zhao Linyu remained silent for a few seconds. Take a look first. Use what works, and leave the rest. He didn't finish speaking. Lin Ruoxiu didn't ask. She knew that in this place, soft-hearted people didn't live long. Zhao Linyu placed his hand on her hair and gently stroked it. You just said you're my woman. Lin Ruoxiu nodded. Then keep an eye on her for me. Let me know if she makes any noise. Lin Ruoxiu nodded again. Zhao Linyu looked down at her. Aren't you afraid? Lin Ruoxiu smiled. What's there to be afraid of? My master will protect me. Zhao Linyu paused for a moment, then smiled. Okay. The two lay down for a while longer. Lin Ruoxiu sat up first and began to get dressed. Master, it's time to go to the playground. Aren't we going to announce new rules today? Zhao Linyu hummed in agreement and sat up as well. Lin Ruoxiu helped him put on his clothes, buttoned them up, and straightened his collar. Her movements were practiced, as if she had done it countless times. Zhao Linyu looked down at her. Ruoxiu. Lin Ruoxiu raised her head. Once things settle down, I'll get you a new room. A bigger one, with a window. Lin Ruoxiu paused for a moment, then smiled. Thank you, master. Zhao Linyu walked out. As he reached the door, he suddenly stopped and turned back to look at her. Besides, Lin Ruoxiu waited. You don't need to call me master anymore. Lin Ruoxiu was stunned. What's that called? Zhao Linyu thought for a moment. Anything is fine. Calling me by my name is okay too. Lin Ruoxiu remained silent for a few seconds. Then she smiled. Zhao Linyu. Zhao Linyu nodded, pushed open the door, and went out. Lin Ruoxiu stood there, looking at the closed door. She touched her face, it was a little hot. Then she picked up the dishes and continued tidying up. The corners of his mouth were always turned up. Before the morning sun had fully risen, the prison's loudspeaker blared. Everyone, assemble on the playground within 5 minutes. Latecomers will receive an electric shock warning. Su Xiaotang rolled out of bed and rubbed her eyes. A Ning, in the bunk next to her, was already sitting up and frantically putting on her clothes. Slow down, there aren't any zombies chasing you. Su Xiaotang yawned. Anning's hands were trembling. What if I'm late? Just give them a shock if they're late, it won't kill them. Ning's face turned even paler. On the playground, 310 people stood scattered about. Some were rubbing their eyes, some were yawning, and some were whispering among themselves. Zhao Linyu stood on the flag-raising platform, behind him a row of robots carrying trays. The trays were densely packed with black metal collars, gleaming coldly in the morning light. Xiaoqi floated in midair, her orb of light flashing. Stand still, everyone. No whispering. I'll write down whoever talks again, and they'll be the first to get a shock later. The crowd fell silent instantly. Zhao Linyu picked up a collar and held it up so everyone could see it. Inside the collar was a ring of red indicator lights, which looked like some kind of electronic component. From today onwards, this is your standard equipment. His voice echoed across the playground via the loudspeaker, built-in stun chip, positioning system, vital signs monitoring. Stepping outside the red line, electric shock. Attacking a teammate, electric shock. Disobeying orders, electric shock. If you do not repent after 3 warnings, the voltage will be increased to a lethal dose. The playground erupted in chaos. On what grounds? Are they treating us like livestock? I won't wear it. Han Fei stood in the middle of the crowd, a slight smile playing on her lips. She gave a wink, and a CAI beside her immediately shouted at the top of her lungs, "Sisters, you can't wear these. Wearing these things will truly turn you into a slave." Several more people joined in the commotion. Zhao Linyu waited a few seconds until the voice was a little quieter before continuing. The first person to put it on will have meat added to their diet today. The last person to put it on will have to fast for a day. The jeering suddenly stopped. Meat. This word exploded like a bomb in the crowd. Everyone knew what the food was like now: watery soup, so thin you could see your reflection in it. Meat? They hadn't seen meat for half a month. Lin Ruoxiu was the first to move. She walked out of the crowd with steady steps, reached the flagpole, knelt down, and slightly tilted her head back, revealing her fair neck. Zhao Linyu looked down at her, picked up a collar, and personally fastened it for her. Click. With a soft click, the indicator light on the collar changed from red to green. Lin Ruoxiu stood up and stepped aside, her face expressionless, only looking down at the numbered bracelet on her wrist. Her number was 009. Su Xiaotang gritted her teeth and went up second. She knelt before Zhao Linyu, raised her head, and met his eyes. Zhao Linyu looked at her too, and their eyes met for a second. Number 007, Zhao Linyu said, have you thought it through? Su Xiaotang didn't speak, but simply raised her chin slightly. Fasten the collar. Su Xiaotang stood up and walked to Lin Ruoxiu's side. She touched the metal around her neck. It was cool, like a cold snake coiled around her throat. When someone takes the lead, things become much easier. The crowd began to disperse. One woman after another stepped forward, knelt before the flagpole, lowered their heads, and exposed their necks. Click, click, click. The sound of the collar fastening echoed in the morning air like the rhythm of some kind of machine. Han Fei's expression changed. There were more than a dozen people standing around her, all her former subordinates, watching her and waiting for her to make a decision. Sister Fei, what should we do? Ali asked softly. Han Fei bit her lip, her mind racing. If she went out now, it would be tantamount to admitting defeat. She would never be able to hold her head high in front of these people again. But if she didn't go out, she glanced at the 100 scavenger robots next to the flagpole. Their eyes glowed red as they faced the crowd. Sister Fei, Zhen asked anxiously. Han Fei took a deep breath, forced out her most charming smile, and swayed her hips as she walked towards the flagpole. Handsome. She walked up to Zhao Linyu, her eyes curving into crescents. This thing is so uncomfortable to wear. Let's talk this out, there's no need for this. Before she could finish speaking, Xiaoqi's ball of light floated in front of her. What did you just call him? Xiaoqi asked in a mechanical voice. Han Fei was stunned for a moment. Handsome guy. How dare you call me handsome? Xiaoqi's ball of light suddenly lit up, and an arc of electricity jumped out from the prototype of the collar, striking Han Fei directly at her feet. Boom! A charred crater appeared on the ground, and the smell of burning filled the air. Han Fei jumped up, her face instantly turning deathly pale. Xiaoqi, using a radio broadcast, said lazily, the host is giving you face by letting you wear it. Don't be ungrateful. Han Fei stood there, trembling. She looked at the crater at her feet, then at Zhao Linyu's expressionless face, and remained silent for 3 seconds. Then she lowered her head, knelt down, and exposed her neck. Zhao Linyu picked up the collar, but paused suddenly before fastening it. The skin is too loose, he said. Han Fei was taken aback. Xiaoqi floated over and explained earnestly, the skin is too loose, it's easy for it to have poor contact. Let me tighten it for you. The collar was fastened, and it was definitely a notch tighter than the others. Han Fei's neck was being constricted, making it a little difficult to breathe. Xiaoqi nodded in satisfaction. Tighter necks make your neck look longer. You're welcome. Han Fei's face flushed and paled in turns, but she still managed to squeeze out, Thank you. She stood up, stepped aside, and lowered her head. No one could see the expression in her eyes. 5 people remained standing at the very end of the crowd. Those were Han Fei's most loyal old subordinates, who had been waiting for Han Fei to give them a signal. But Han Fei's actions just now had completely stunned them. Zhao Linyu looked at the 5 people. You are the last 5. The 5 people looked at each other, but no one moved. Very good. Zhao Linyu nodded and said to the robot beside him, give them a hand. 3 scavenger robots walked over, their mechanical arms extending to grab the 5 women's arms. The 5 women screamed and struggled, but the robot's strength was far beyond what a human could resist. They were forced to the ground and had collars forcibly put on them. A level 1 electric shock, as a greeting gift, Zhao Linyu said. The indicator light on the collar started flashing, changing from green to red, and then, 5 screams rang out simultaneously. 5 people convulsed on the ground, foaming at the mouth, their bodies arching like shrimp that had been electrocuted. People around took a few steps back, some covered their eyes, and some turned their heads away. 10 seconds later, the electric shock stopped. The 5 people lay sprawled on the ground, like 5 puddles of mud, only the rise and fall of their chests proved they were still alive. Zhao Linyu glanced around the room. Does anyone else have a question? No one spoke. Very good. He pointed to the 5 people sprawled on the ground. Carry them back. Training will proceed as scheduled today. Also, he paused, then looked at Lin Ruoxiu in the crowd. Number 009, you're getting extra meat on the plate today. You're the one leading the way. Lin Ruoxiu nodded slightly. Zhao Linyu jumped off the flagpole and headed towards the office building. Xiaoqi floated beside him and said in a voice only he could hear, Host, that number 088 has an abnormal heart rate. That electric shock just now really scared her. Nonsense. Zhao Linyu said without turning his head, she thinks she's something special, but she can't even withstand a spark. Aren't you afraid of her retaliating? Let her report it. Zhao Linyu pushed open the office building door. The more retaliation, the better. I've been looking for a reason to clean house. The crowd slowly dispersed on the playground. Su Xiaotang touched the collar around her neck, the cold metal pressed against her skin like a shackle she could never break free from. Anning walked over and whispered, Xiaotang, are you in pain? Su Xiaotang glanced at her, what's so painful? It's not like you're electrocuting me. Anning lowered her head and touched the collar around her neck. She was the 200th one to wear it, number 299. The collar fit perfectly, but she still felt like she couldn't breathe. I'm scared, Anning said. What if this thing malfunctions? You can't get out. Su Xiaotang interrupted her, that Xiaoqi is shrewd. In the distance, Han Fei stood in a corner, surrounded by several of her former subordinates. Sister Fei, what should we do? Ali asked. Han Fei didn't speak, but just touched the collar around her neck, her eyes filled with uncertain emotions. Zhen whispered, why don't we just admit it? That man is too strange. Acknowledge. Han Fei raised her head, a cold glint in her eyes. I, Han Fei, have been in this business for 15 years, and I've never acknowledged anyone. She turned and walked towards the prison cell, and several of her former subordinates quickly followed. After taking a few steps, she suddenly stopped and looked back in the direction of the office building. Wait, she said. One day, I will put this collar around his neck myself. But what she didn't know was that every word she said was recorded by the microphone in her collar and transmitted to Xiaoqi's database. Inside the office building, Zhao Linyu sat in front of the surveillance wall, listening to the sounds coming from his earphones, a smile playing on his lips. Host, she says she doesn't acknowledge it. Little Seven floated over. Make her deny it. Zhao Linyu leaned back in his chair. The more she denies it, the better. He reached out and turned off the monitor, looking out at the playground. 310 women wearing collars are lined up, ready to begin today's training. Sunlight shone on their necks, making the black metal necklaces gleam like strings of cold pearls. On the first day the collar was put on, the entire prison was as quiet as a graveyard. 310 women ran on the playground all day long. No one dared to slack off, and no one dared to speak. Only the sound of the robot's footsteps and panting echoed in the air. Han Fei was also very quiet. She obediently ran the 5 kilometers, ate dinner obediently, and returned to her cell obediently. Acai, Ali, and Zhen surrounded her, waiting for her to make a decision. Sister Fei, are we just going to accept this? Acai asked in a low voice. Han Fei didn't speak, but simply touched the collar around her neck. The cold metal pressed against her skin, like a chain that could never be broken. Recognize. She sneered. I, Han Fei, have been in the underworld for 15 years, and I've never even known how to write a character. She pulled something out of her pocket, a crumpled half-pack of cigarettes, which she had hidden on her person when she sneaked in. Ali's eyes lit up. Sister Fei, you have this too. Keep your voice down. Han Fei handed out cigarettes to the girls. Here, give some to those who don't listen. Cigarettes are more useful than money in this apocalypse. Zhen took the cigarette, hesitated for a moment, and said, but Sister Fei, what if this thing gets discovered? What did you find? Han Fei interrupted her. That guy surnamed Zhao can watch us 24/7? Go, let the sisters know that if they follow me, Han Fei, they'll get what they deserve. Several former members split up and, under the cover of night, visited each other's cells. Little sister, are you tired? Here, have a cigarette. Don't be afraid, this is from Sister Fei. Sister Fei said we should share good fortune. Who does that guy surnamed Zhao think he is? One day, we'll turn the tables and make him our own masters. Cigarettes were passed around in the darkness, and whispers echoed in the corners. Han Fei leaned against the wall, a smile playing on her lips. Unbeknownst to her, every word she uttered was being recorded by the microphone in her collar and transmitted in real time to Xiaoqi's database. Inside the office building, Zhao Linyu sat in front of the monitoring wall, watching the waveform of the audio feed on the screen. Xiaoqi floated over. Host, number 088 has started coordinating. Should we arrest him now? Zhao Linyu yawned. What are you catching for? Let them put on a show for a bit. Haven't you watched Animal World? Lions always let their prey run around for a while before they catch it. Xiaoqi's glowing orb flashed. Host, your analogy isn't quite right. A lion lets its prey run, then chases after it and kills it. You're letting the prey run, then watching them get tired before killing them. Is there a difference? Yes, you are more cruel than a lion. Zhao Linyu smiled. Thank you for the compliment. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the loudspeaker came on. Everyone, prepare to shower. 10 people per group, in numerical order. Latecomers will be disqualified from showering. A commotion broke out in the cell. A bath? Since the apocalypse, these women haven't bathed for half a month. They can only wipe themselves with a damp towel each day, and even they find the smell on their bodies disgusting. The first group of 10 people were taken out by the robot and returned half an hour later with wet hair and a strange expression on their faces, as if they had been crying or laughing. How is it? Someone asked. The woman who returned choked up and said, hot water, it really is hot water. The second batch, the third batch, and the fourth batch. It was already late at night when it was Han Fei's turn. The public bathroom wasn't large, with 20 shoriads spraying water simultaneously. The moment the hot water hit her body, Han Fei closed her eyes and let out a long sigh. She hadn't had such a comfortable bath in a long time, but the comfort only lasted for 15 minutes. The loudspeaker blared again. Those who have finished showering, please get dressed and assemble at the entrance for inspection. Examine? Han Fei paused for a moment, but still got dressed and followed the group out of the bathroom. Zhao Linyu stood at the bathroom door. Behind her was a row of scavenger robots, and in front of her was a white line. Xiaoqi floated in midair, the orb of light flashing. Those who have finished washing, line up in groups of 10, Xiaoqi announced over the loudspeaker. Under inspection. Hands up, turn to face you, hands up, turn to back, squat down. Anyone found with contraband will receive a warning electric shock. Han Fei's expression changed. She instinctively clenched her fists. The first group of 10 people were already in position. They were soaking wet, their hair still dripping, and they lined up in front of Zhao Linyu. Raise your hand. 10 hands were raised simultaneously. Zhao Linyu's gaze swept over them, as if scanning merchandise. There was no lewdness, only scrutiny. Turn around, bend over, and place your hands on your knees. 10 people turned around, bent over, and revealed their most vulnerable posture. Zhao Linyu went up and checked them one by one. He examined them very carefully, every inch of skin, especially the most delicate areas where things might be hiding. A young girl was trembling all over, tears welling up in her eyes, during the examination. Zhao Linyu glanced at her. Why are you crying? The girl stammered, I'm scared. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid of you. Zhao Linyu straightened up and said to her, don't worry, I'm not interested in you. I'm just checking if you've hidden anything. The girl froze for a moment, then tears suddenly streamed down her face. The second batch, the third batch, and the fourth batch. Finally, it was Han Fei's and her group's turn. The 10 people stood in line, with Han Fei in the very center. She tried her best to appear calm, but her palms were sweaty. Raise your hand. She raised her hand. Turn around and bend down. She turned around, bent over, and braced herself on her knees. She could feel Zhao Linyu walk up behind her, his gaze fixed on her. She gritted her teeth, desperately trying to stop herself from trembling. Suddenly, a hand reached out and grabbed her wrist. Han Fei was startled and instinctively tried to pull her hand back, but the hand was like an iron clamp, and she couldn't break free at all. Zhao Linyu pried open her body and took something out of his palm, a lighter, which she had secretly hidden. The first time, Zhao Linyu said calmly. A blue light flashed around Han Fei's neck. Ah! She screamed, her body convulsing as she collapsed to her knees. The electric current wasn't strong, but it was enough to make her remember the pain. She lay on the ground, gasping for breath, her body feeling like it had fallen apart. Zhao Linyu looked down at her. Lighters are contraband, you're not allowed to keep them. Next time, the voltage will be doubled. Han Fei gritted her teeth and remained silent. Zhao Linyu turned to the others. Continue. The remaining 9 people nervously accepted the inspection, and no one dared to hide anything anymore. After inspecting this batch, Zhao Linyu said to Xiaoqi, next. Xiaoqi floated over. Host, how many more batches do we need to check tonight? All of them? More than 300 people. You'll be searching until dawn. Zhao Linyu stretched. Then let's investigate until dawn. I can't sleep anyway. Xiaoqi's glowing orb flashed. Host, you're not doing this because you can't sleep. Are you doing it on purpose? What did you mean by that? You deliberately made them wait in line, deliberately made them watch others being checked, deliberately made them nervous and scared, Xiaoqi said. That's psychological warfare. Zhao Linyu smiled. You understand me. That night, the entire prison remained awake. 310 women were taken to bathe in batches, and then taken for examination afterward. Some tried to hide toothbrushes during the examination and were electrocuted and rendered unconscious, some tried to hide pills and were electrocuted and became incontinent, and some didn't hide anything, but were so trembling that they wet their pants after Zhao Linyu glanced at them. By daybreak, the last batch of inspections was completed. All 310 people were inspected without outer clothing, all bowed before Zhao Linyu, and all remembered the feeling of being scrutinized. Xiaoqi tallied the results. Host, a total of 17 people were found to be hoarding items last night, and all of them received an electric shock warning. 32 others suffered emotional breakdowns and require psychological counseling. Zhao Linyu yawned. Psychological counseling? Just make them run 10 kilometers, and they'll be fine after that? Host, this is corporal punishment. No, this is exercise therapy. Zhao Linyu walked towards the office building. Scientific research shows that exercise produces dopamine, and dopamine makes people happy. I'm helping them be happy. Xiaoqi was silent for 2 seconds. Host, have you ever thought that you're actually quite deserving of a beating? Zhao Linyu didn't even turn his head. I've thought about it. But who can beat me? Xiaoqi was speechless. On the playground, 310 women, without outer garments, knelt with their hands covering their heads, shivering from the cold. They hadn't slept all night and were exhausted, but no one dared to complain. Han Fei stood in the crowd, head down, touching the collar around her neck. She remembered the electric shock vividly. Ali leaned closer and whispered, Sister Fei, our cigarettes. Stop talking, Han Fei interrupted her, just bear with it for now. She looked up, gazing in the direction of the office building, her expression complex. That man was much more difficult to deal with than she had imagined. But what she didn't know was that every word she said and every action she took was under that man's control. Inside the office building, Zhao Linyu sat in front of the surveillance wall, looking at Han Fei's face on the screen. Xiaoqi floated over. Host, number 088 is still figuring out how to deal with you. Let her think about it. Zhao Linyu picked up his glass and took a sip of water. The more she thinks, the more tragically she'll die. He put down his cup and looked out the window at the tired women on the playground. Sunlight shone on them, on the collars around their necks. The black metal gleamed, like a shackle they could never break free from. Xiaoqi, exist. Starting tomorrow, post-shower checks will become a routine procedure. Once a day. Host, you're driving them crazy. Drive them crazy. Zhao Linyu laughed. I'm helping them get used to it. Get used to being controlled. Get used to obeying. Get used to living. He stood up and walked towards the lounge. He stopped at the door and glanced back at the screen. On the screen, Han Fei was looking up in the direction of the office building, her eyes filled with uncertain emotions. Zhao Linyu curled the corners of his lips. Take your time. I'm not in a hurry. The door closed. Outside the window, the sun rises, and a new day begins. On the third day of checking her body after showering, Han Fei finally couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't because of the pain. She remembered the electric shock vividly. These past few days, she'd been as docile as a cat, not even daring to raise her voice. But being docile didn't mean she was giving up, she was simply waiting for her chance. She believes she created this opportunity herself. I want to see Zhao Linyu, she said to the robot at the door. The robot's red eyes flashed. Reservation number. An appointment. Han Fei was taken aback. You need an appointment to see him. Number 088, you are number 247 in line, the robot said in a mechanical voice. Estimated waiting time, 3 days. Han Fei's face darkened. She turned and walked back, but stopped after a couple of steps, looking back at the robot. The robot's red light was still flashing, like an eye that would never blink. Fine. She gritted her teeth. 3 days it is. 3 days later. Han Fei stood at the entrance of the office building, straightening her clothes. She had specially changed into a cleaner prison uniform, retied her hair, and even wet her fingers to smooth the stray hairs at her temples. Number 088, Han Fei, she said to the robot at the door. I have an appointment to see Commander Zhao today. Robot, move aside. Han Fei took a deep breath and pushed open the door. In the office, Zhao Linyu was sitting in front of the surveillance wall, munching on a steamed bun. Xiaoqi floated beside him, its orb of light flashing, its purpose unknown. You're here. Zhao Linyu said without turning his head. Sit down. Han Fei looked around the room. There were no chairs. She stood there, waiting for Zhao Linyu to turn around. But Zhao Linyu didn't turn around. He just stared at the surveillance wall, munching on his steamed bun. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. Han Fei's legs went numb from standing. She cleared her throat. Commander Zhao. Wait a minute. Zhao Linyu raised his hand to interrupt her. This episode is almost over. Han Fei then noticed that the monitor on the wall was showing an old TV series. The picture quality was blurry and the sound was static, but she could tell it was Bright Sword. Li Yunlong was cursing. 5 more minutes passed. The series ended, and the end credits rolled. Zhao Linyu stretched, turned around, and looked at Han Fei. Speak, what is it? Han Fei took a deep breath, straightened her back, and exuded the aura of someone who had been in the underworld for 15 years. Commander Zhao, I'd like to make a deal with you. Conditions. Zhao Linyu laughed. You're wearing my collar, eating my food, and living in my house. What right do you have to negotiate with me? Han Fei's face stiffened for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. That's the code of the martial world, she said. I'll fight you one-on-one. If I win, give me and my people some autonomy. If I lose, I'll completely submit, and from now on, you say east, I'll never go west. Zhao Linyu looked at her as if she were a fool. Do you know what you're saying? I know. Han Fei raised her chin. I, Han Fei, have been in the underworld for 15 years. The reason I've survived this long is because my fists are strong enough. Zhao Linyu nodded and said to Xiaoqi, did you hear that? Xiaoqi floated over, I heard that. She said her fists are hard enough. What do you think? Xiaoqi's orb of light flickered. I think she might have some misunderstanding about power. Han Fei frowned. What do you mean? Zhao Linyu didn't speak, but simply raised his chin. The next second, the smart handcuffs on Han Fei's wrist lit up with a blue light. She shuddered and began to tremble uncontrollably. It wasn't pain, but a strange, tingling sensation. The current wasn't strong, but it stimulated her muscles so intensely that she couldn't stop. Xiaoqi's light sphere began to flash with colorful light, and music suddenly started playing on the radio. Come on, draw a dragon with me on the left, and a rainbow on your right. Han Fei began to draw a dragon with her hands. She wanted to stop, but her hands wouldn't obey her commands, only trembling in rhythm with the electric current. Her legs began to shake too, and her whole body convulsed like a robot, her facial muscles contorted, her expression grotesque. Come on, draw a rainbow with me on the left, and a dragon on your right. Han Fei drew circles with her left hand and squares with her right, the movements on both sides completely different. She wanted to stop, but her mouth wouldn't obey her commands, only able to make sounds. The office door was open, and a female prisoner passing by heard the music and peeked inside. I was stunned when I saw it. Han Fei is dancing. No, it's dancing because it's being electrocuted. His posture and expression were even more energetic than the most hyped guys in the nightclub. Some people wanted to laugh, but immediately covered their mouths, their faces turning bright red. Others quickly ran away, pretending not to see. A few bolder ones stood at the doorway peeking, their eyes wide like saucers. 3 minutes later, the current stopped. Han Fei collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes were messy, her makeup was smudged, and she looked like she had just been pulled out of the water. Zhao Linyu stood up, walked to her, and squatted down. Your world of martial arts is nothing but a fart to me. Han Fei looked up at him. Her eyes no longer held the previous provocation, only fear and confusion. Zhao Linyu continued, you want a one-on-one fight? Fine. I'll give you the chance, but not now. He stood up and said to Zhaoqi, write this down for her. She has to run 10 kilometers, if she doesn't finish, she won't get dinner tonight. Han Fei struggled to stand up, but her legs gave way and she sat back down. Xiaoqi floated over and announced via loudspeaker, number 088, 10 kilometers, track. Timing begins. If you don't finish, you can skip the steamed buns tonight. Don't worry, I'll remember. Han Fei gritted her teeth, got up, and limped towards the playground. The female prisoner peeking through the door quickly moved aside, lowering her head and not daring to look at her. Han Fei walked onto the playground and started running. She could keep going on the first lap. By the second lap, my legs started to feel weak. On the third lap, my vision started to go black. On the fourth lap, she saw Su Xiaotang standing by the track, looking at her. The two exchanged a glance. Su Xiaotang didn't speak, but simply shook her head slightly, then turned and left. Han Fei kept running. Fifth lap, sixth lap, seventh lap. On the eighth lap, she tripped and fell, her knee hitting the track and bleeding profusely. She lay on the ground, panting heavily, tears and sweat mingling and covering her face. Zhaoqi's announcement came on, number 088, 2 laps to go. Keep it up, you're 2 kilometers away from the steamed bun. Han Fei got up and kept running. The ninth lap. Lap 10. The moment she crossed the finish line, her legs buckled, and she collapsed to the ground. The world spun around. After a long time, she finally heard a voice. Finished running. She looked up and saw Zhao Linyu standing in front of her. I'm done running, she said, panting. Zhao Linyu nodded. Let's go eat. There are still some steamed buns. Han Fei was stunned. She thought Zhao Linyu would say something else, mock her, or give her another electric shock. But he said nothing, he just told her to go eat. She struggled to her feet, watching Zhao Linyu's figure disappear into the office building. Ali and Zhen ran over and helped her up. Sister Fei, are you alright? Han Fei shook her head and didn't say anything. In the cafeteria, everyone was eating. When Han Fei came in, some people lowered their heads, some pretended not to see her, and some secretly sized her up. Han Fei sat in the corner, carrying her tray. The steamed buns were cold, and the vegetables were bland, but she ate quickly. Ali leaned closer and whispered, Sister Fei, we should. Stop talking, Han Fei interrupted her. Let's eat first. Ali shut her mouth. After finishing her meal, Han Fei returned to her cell, lay down on her bed, and stared blankly at the ceiling. Zhen walked over and handed her something. Han Fei took it and saw that it contained a small piece of gauze and a bottle of disinfectant. Where did it come from? She asked. Zhen whispered, Su Xiaotang gave it to me. She said your knee was injured and asked me to give it to you. Han Fei paused for a moment, looking at the gauze and disinfectant in her hand, and remained silent for a long time. Inside the office building, Zhao Linyu sat in front of the surveillance wall, watching Han Fei on the screen. Xiaoqi floated over, host, she was very well behaved today. She didn't conspire, didn't complain, and went to sleep after eating. Zhao Linyu nodded. Host, I don't understand, Xiaoqi said. You could have killed her today, or locked her up, but you only made her run 10 kilometers. Why? Zhao Linyu leaned back in his chair and yawned. Zhaoqi, do you know what the most effective way is to tame a wild beast? What is it? It's not about hitting it, Zhao Linyu said. It's about letting it understand that you're stronger than it, but you won't kill it casually. It's about making it fear you, and at the same time, giving it hope. Xiaoqi's glowing orb flashed. You mean, you're not killing her today, you're giving her hope. Yes. Zhao Linyu smiled. He made her believe that as long as she obeyed, she could survive. Once she completely believed that, she would never be able to jump again. Xiaoqi was silent for 2 seconds. Host, you're really quite scary. Zhao Linyu stood up and walked towards the lounge. Thank you for the compliment. The door closed. Outside the window, the moon rose and shone on the playground. In her cell, Han Fei lay on her bed, gazing at the small patch of moonlight outside the window. Her hand touched the collar around her neck. It was cool, like a lock that could never be unlocked. But what she was thinking about wasn't how to break free from the lock. It was the bottle of disinfectant, the gauze, and Su Xiaotang's retreating figure as she turned to leave. It was 5:30 in the morning, and the sky was still not fully light. The playground was already full of people. 300 women stood in 10 rows, 30 in each row, all neatly arranged. No one spoke, no one whispered, only the rustling of prison uniforms in the morning breeze. Zhao Linyu stood on the flag-raising platform, munching on a steamed bun. Xiaoqi floated beside him, its orb of light flashing as it scanned the crowd. Starting today, the training intensity will be increased. Zhao Linyu swallowed a mouthful of steamed bun. A 5-kilometer cross-country run in the morning, obstacle training after lunch, and strength training before dinner. The bottom 20 will have their dinner halved. A slight commotion arose in the crowd, but it quickly subsided. Ning stood in the last row, her face deathly pale. She had been running the 5 kilometers trail race for 3 days, and hadn't finished it a single day. On the first day, she vomited after running 3 kilometers, on the second day she fainted after running 4 kilometers, and on the third day she barely finished, but was 10 minutes slower than the last person. Today is the fourth day. Ready, go. 300 people surged toward the track like ants bursting open. Ning squeezed into the crowd, running as fast as she could. She knew she was slow, so she had to run like crazy from the start, otherwise the gap would only widen. On the first lap, she was able to keep up with the group. On the second lap, people started overtaking her. By the third lap, she had been left far behind. On the fourth lap, her lungs felt like they were about to explode, every breath felt like being cut with a knife. On the fifth lap, she started walking. It wasn't that I wanted to walk, it was that I simply couldn't run anymore. My legs felt like they were filled with lead, and every step required all my strength. My vision started to blur, and my ears were ringing. Someone ran past, creating a gust of wind. Oh, number 299, it's not working again. Ning looked up and saw Ali and Zhen running past her. Zhen glanced back at her with a mocking smile. Hands meant for playing the piano are no good, Ali said. Hands like that are only fit to feed zombies. The two of them laughed and ran away. Ning gritted her teeth and continued walking. She thought of her hands from before. They were hands that countless people envied, long, fair, with thin calluses on the fingertips, the result of practicing the piano. Her teachers said they were the hands of a born pianist. Now my hands are covered in blisters and scabs. 6th lap. 7th lap. 8th lap. She saw the finish line, but her legs wouldn't obey her. Every step felt like walking on a knife's edge, every step could lead to her collapse. The 9th lap. She really collapsed. Her knee slammed onto the track, the pain bringing tears to her eyes. She tried to get up, but her legs were as weak as noodles, and she couldn't muster any strength. Number 299 has collapsed. Xiaoqi's announcement came over the loudspeaker. Medical team, prepare. 2 robots came over and lifted her up. No. Ning struggled. I can still run. You've stopped for 30 seconds, the robot said in a mechanical voice. According to the rules, stopping for more than 30 seconds is considered a forfeit of this round of testing. You need to undergo a medical examination. Ning was carried to the medical area beside the runway and seated in a chair. The doctor was a woman in her 40s, surnamed Zhou, who had been a prison doctor before the apocalypse. She examined Ning and shook her head. Dehydration, mild heat stroke, muscle strain. You can't run anymore today. Ning lowered her head and didn't say anything. She knew she hadn't finished the run again. 5 days of trail running, and I still haven't finished. According to the rules, no food is served if the race isn't completed. The cafeteria opens at 6 p.m. 300 people lined up, carrying their trays to get their food. Tonight's dinner was thin porridge and steamed buns. Each person received 1 steamed bun and a bowl of thin porridge. Ning huddled in a corner of the cell, listening to the sounds coming from the direction of the canteen. She was hungry. She hasn't eaten anything since the afternoon. The little bit she ate in the morning has long been digested, and her stomach feels like it's being squeezed, causing her to break out in a cold sweat from the pain. But she can't go to the cafeteria. Those who don't finish running don't get to eat. That's the rule. She hugged her knees, burying her face in them, not wanting anyone to see her expression. Footsteps approached. Someone walked up to her and stopped. Ning raised her head. Su Xiaotang stood there, holding a steamed bun in her hand. The steamed bun wasn't big, it was white, and still steaming. In Ning's eyes, it was more beautiful than anything else in the world. Su Xiaotang squatted down and stuffed the steamed bun into her hand. Ning was stunned. She looked at the steamed bun in her hand, then at Su Xiaotang, and tears suddenly streamed down her face. Eat it, Su Xiaotang said. It was hidden. Ning opened her mouth, wanting to say thank you, but her throat felt blocked, and she couldn't utter a single word. She lowered her head and took a bite of her steamed bun. The steamed bun was hard. It's not the kind of hardness that comes from spoilage, but the kind of hardness that comes from cooling down. But at this moment, it tastes better than any delicacy in the world. She chewed on the steamed bun, tears falling onto it, which she swallowed along with the bun. Su Xiaotang sat next to her, watching her eat. Slow down, don't choke. Ning nodded, but didn't slow down at all. She was so hungry that she wanted to swallow the whole steamed bun. Halfway through her meal, she suddenly stopped and choked out a sentence. This steamed bun is much harder than piano keys. Su Xiaotang paused for a moment, then smiled. You can play the piano? Ning nodded and took another bite of the steamed bun. I used to be a student at the music academy, majoring in piano. I studied for 15 years. 15 years. Su Xiaotang was a little surprised. Then you must play very well. Ning gave a bitter smile. What's the use of being good? We can't even earn a steamed bun now. Su Xiaotang patted her head. Don't cry. In this place, surviving is more important than anything else. Ning looked up at her. Moonlight streamed in through the window, illuminating Su Xiaotang's face. Her expression was calm, her eyes holding a serene, unfathomable quality. Why did you help me? Ning asked. Su Xiaotang thought for a moment. I don't know. Maybe it's because you look so pitiful. Ning cried again. Su Xiaotang sighed. Stop crying, or the steamed buns will turn into pickles. Ning chuckled at her words, but she couldn't stop the tears from flowing. In the distance, Ali and Zhen stood in the corridor, watching this scene. Sister Fei, look, Ali whispered. Han Fei leaned against the wall, squinting at the 2 figures in the corner. Su Xiaotang, number 007, the one she once considered someone worth pursuing. Now she was delivering steamed buns to someone who couldn't even afford food. Sister Fei, should we tell that guy surnamed Zhao? Zhen asked. Distributing food without permission is against regulations, they should be given an electric shock warning. Han Fei remained silent for a few seconds, then turned and left. Forget it, she said. It's better to avoid trouble. Ali and Zhen exchanged a glance and followed. Inside the office building, Zhao Linyu sat in front of the surveillance wall, watching the images on the screen. Xiaoqi floated over. Host, Su Xiaotang distributed food without permission. According to regulations, she should be given an electric shock warning. Zhao Linyu didn't speak, he just stared at the screen. In the video, Su Xiaotang is sitting next to Ning, the two girls snuggling together. Ning is still crying, and Su Xiaotang just sits there, saying nothing, simply keeping her company. Xiaoqi asked again, Host, should we punish him? Zhao Linyu was silent for a few seconds, then said, let it go this time. Forget it. Xiaoqi's light sphere flashed. Host, rules are rules. If we let it go this time, what if others follow her example next time? Zhao Linyu leaned back in his chair and yawned. Xiaoqi, do you know why soldiers are willing to risk their lives for their generals? Because the general has power. No, Zhao Linyu said, because the general made them feel that they were human beings, not cannon fodder. Xiaoqi fell silent. Zhao Linyu continued watching the screen. This Su Xiaotang has been a troublemaker from day one. But now, she's taking care of someone who can't even afford food. What does that mean? What does this mean? This shows she's starting to consider these people one of her own, Zhao Linyu said. That's more effective for us than 100 electric shocks. Xiaoqi's light sphere flickered. Host, are you getting sentimental? Zhao Linyu laughed. I'm not sentimental at all. I'll make a note of it, and if I behave better next time, it'll be offset. He stood up and walked towards the lounge. He stopped at the door and glanced back at the screen. On the screen, Ning had finished her steamed bun and fallen asleep leaning on Su Xiaotang's shoulder. Su Xiaotang sat there, motionless, like a statue. Zhao Linyu looked at it for a few seconds, then pushed open the door and left. Good night, pianist, he whispered. The door closed. Outside the window, the moon was high in the sky, shining on every corner of the prison. In the cell, Ning slept soundly. She hadn't slept this soundly in a long time. In her dream, she sat in a concert hall, wearing a long black dress, with a Steinway grand piano in front of her. The audience was full, and the lights shone on her, warm and bright. She raised her hand and placed it on the piano keys. The piano keys are hard. It's harder than a steamed bun.